2 worlds I studied at Hogwarts. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126 Extraordinary Potion Effect. The little witch Chris soon came to rent a room for the second time, and Moon still did not charge gold coins. However, during the process of her refining the potion, Moon still used the floating spell to intercept a little potion powder as a reward. Of course, Moon also paid the corresponding labor. In the final stage of the little witch's potion refining, Moon used the fire spell to help her continue the flame. The little witch Chris's skills in flame control were still as rusty as usual. Although Moon didn't know why the other party used white bone carbon as a heat source material, for the sake of the potion powder, Moon still rescued her once. "Little doctor, I found that my luck will be very good in your room. If you want to get guidance or rent my tools, I can consider giving you half the price. How about it?" Hearing that the little witch Chris wanted to make money from him again, Moon just smiled and shook his head. This morning, Uncle Hall had already made a tin crucible and matching potion tools according to the blueprint. Moon has also successfully learned the refining techniques and raw materials for the potion, so the little witch is destined not to earn this money. Although Moon did not agree to the conditions, Chris was still very happy when she left. She used double the materials to make the potion today. After the difficulty of refining increased, she did not expect that she could succeed in one go. After deducting all the materials, I made a net profit of 10 gold coins this time. At least I don't have to worry about my life when I arrive at the Venus Islands. Like the little witch Chris, Moon was in a very good mood today. After the other party left, Moon followed the knowledge he learned in Hogwarts and started his first potion refining in this world. Except for the different heating methods and tools, Moon's entire operation process was copied from Chris. It seems that white bone carbon is indeed not a necessity. Moon still used an alcohol lamp to heat the potion, which was the high-proof liquor he asked Xilin for. In the process of refining the potion, because he did not have to pay attention to the situation of the flame every moment, Moon could focus all his attention on the changes in the potion. The changes in the potion's consistency, color, and smell were all the same as when Chris made it. Even when the Selma flower powder was added at the end and the potion was about to take shape, the fragrance of the potion coming from the crucible was even stronger, and the color was much brighter than the one Chris had just made. This potion is for treating cuts, so it's safer to find someone to try it. After Moon had made the potion and bottled it, he was thinking about how to test the efficacy when someone came to ask for a test. "Your Excellency Scarlett, I don't know if you are making a potion. One of my crew members just got injured. I hope to receive your favor." As the captain of the Thorn, Gold had actually roughly guessed what happened in this small room through what Moon had done in the past 2 days. So when the crew outside reported that the aroma of the potion was coming from Moon's room, he immediately drew out his knife and cut the reporter's arm. "Okay, you can try it." Moon only wanted to know the effect of the potion now, and he didn't care how the crew member's wound came from. Xilin, who was standing next to him, knew very well how such a wound could be formed. So after Gold entered the room, Xilin automatically stood beside Moon. Although the crew member's arm was firmly controlled by Gold, he couldn't stop shaking when Moon applied the medicine. "Don't be afraid, even if this potion fails, it will not be fatal, and I am very confident in myself." Seeing that the crew member was about to cry, Moon smiled and comforted him. "Did you hear that? Take back your tears, Lord Scarlett is applying medicine for you personally." Gold's roar was indeed much more useful than Moon's comfort. The crew member's arm stopped shaking, and Moon successfully applied the potion to him. "How is it?" After taking back the remaining half bottle of potion, Moon looked at the injured curiously. "It's cool and a little itchy." "Oh, no, it's getting more and more itchy?" The crew member was still relaxed at first, and then gradually became terrified. His expression successfully attracted the 3 people next to him. After Gold saw the changes in the crew member's wound, he kicked the crew member's buttocks directly. "What's itching?" "It's your wound that is healing." With Gold's violent suppression, the crew member instantly quieted down and looked at the wound on his arm. Moon was also observing carefully at this time. The wound where the potion was first applied had already shown signs of healing. It had only been less than 10 minutes. Did the injured person in the cabin recover so quickly? Seeing this situation, Moon couldn't help but ask curiously. "No, some shallow wounds take 1 day, and deep wounds take 3 days, After hearing Moon's question, Gold blurted out. Moon was just a little curious that Gold would pay so much attention to an injured young man and even know the specific time. Then he looked at the crew member's wound again. Is my potion taking effect too fast? Yes, sir. This is absolutely definitely the fastest. When Gold showed a surprised expression, the length of the crew member's wound was shrinking. The shallow wounds at the upper and lower ends had healed, forming a faint white mark. Xilin, who was standing next to him, also showed an incredible expression in his eyes. As the guardian of a high-level spellcaster, although he had never seen a potion being made, he had also enjoyed potion treatment after being injured. But Xilin remembered very clearly that those expensive potions treasured by spellcasters did not have such an effect at all. Sir Scarlett, are you willing to sell this bottle of potion? I am willing to pay 50 gold coins, no, 100 gold coins. It took only 30 minutes for all the crew members' wounds to heal, which was simply a miracle in Gold's eyes. Gold, this is not an ordinary wound medicine, it can save lives in an emergency. Before Moon agreed, Xilin raised the price next to him. Gold knew very well that Xilin was right. It was indeed a life-saving magic medicine that could heal wounds in such a short time. I am willing to pay 200 gold coins. In addition, as long as you can make the same potion, you can come to me. I will never bargain. Seeing that Xilin was satisfied and no longer said anything, Moon smiled and handed the potion to Gold. Actually, it's not difficult to make this potion, but the materials are very rare. It may take some time to make it again. The Selma flower powder that Moon intercepted from Chris can be used to make 2 batches of the same potion. After using it up, he has no way to get new Selma flowers. After Gold took the potion, he held it tightly in his hand. After hearing Moon's question, he hesitated for a moment and spoke. Actually, I have seen magicians on the Venus Islands. They trade in a place called the Black House. Maybe there's what you need there. Chapter 127 The Mysterious Wizarding Organization. Gold learned about the Black House from the conversation between the 2 magicians he had carried 3 years ago. He only knew that there would be magicians doing business in the Black House, and he didn't know anything else. Moon was very curious about this place called the Black House. But he would not easily look for this place now. After all, unknown gathering places for magicians are often full of various dangers. If he really wanted to go there, he had to find out what this place was. It just so happened that a knowledgeable old gentleman had just joined Moon. Mimir, who had lived on the 2nd floor of the cabin for 3 days, was invited to Moon's room again. The Black House? That's where the unbelievers gather. They don't welcome outsiders to enter casually. After hearing Moon's question, Mimir mentioned a mysterious wizard organization, unbelievers, the founder of the Black House, and a group of extremely xenophobic magicians. So, it seems that it's impossible to get the Selma flower from the Black House, so can we buy this flower from the tribesmen? Moon still remembered that when Mimir saw the Selma flower powder, he said that it was something guarded by the tribesmen. Now, when refining the cut potion, the Selma flower is the most indispensable raw material for the potion. The tribesmen on the Vena Islands are not so xenophobic, but this is only for ordinary people. When Mimir said this, he looked at Moon. They don't exclude ordinary people, but they exclude magicians. Although Moon had long known the metaphor of magicians are mice from Xilin, he didn't expect that magicians would be so unpopular. Then is there any other way to get this Selma flower? After knowing the price Gold offered for the cut potion, Moon was determined to get the Selma flower. Although I don't know how the little female magician you mentioned got the Selma flower, the witch doctor of the tribe does have very strict control over this flower. Hearing Mimir say this, Moon knew that refining this cut potion might not be so easy. But he did remember that the little witch Chris probably had 2 doses of Selma flower powder on her. Maybe we can buy it from her. Anyway, this little witch loves money very much. After seeing that Moon stopped asking questions to the magician, Mimir directly took out the anvil song he had copied in the past 3 days. Mew, Lord Scarlett, this is the complete set of the bard I copied. Can you make it more? Seeing Mimir's vicissitudes of life face showing a requesting expression, Moon gladly took the poetry collection that still smelled of ink. 10. Copy spells. 10 identical copies of Anvil Song appeared on the table. Oh, thank you so much, so that the children can each have a copy. After witnessing the magic of Moon's magic again, Mimir was still a little excited. Mimir, you don't have to call me Your Excellency, just call me Moon. Most of the people who used honorifics to address Moon had something to ask of him, but Mimir was not like that. Not to mention that he had a lot of experience and knowledge that Moon lacked. His attitude of being willing to devote his life to the bard was worthy of Moon's respect. After moving into the second-floor cabin of the Thorn, Mimir copied poems every day, and sang them to the people in the veteran alley during breaks. This made the mood of the people in the second-floor cabin better. Especially the 7 or 8 children of the same age as Sophia. Moon could hear their laughter every day. "No, sir, your magic is unparalleled. Although I don't know why you go to find those magicians who like to fight and kill, you are the most honorable friend to Mimir." After carefully examining the newly appeared anvil song, Mimir bowed deeply to Moon. "Old sir, don't be like this. In fact, I have already told you that what my magic can do, ordinary people can also do." Moon quickly walked over, helped Mimir up and said, "This is impossible, sir." Hearing that Moon was still insisting on this ridiculous rhetoric, Mimir smiled and shook his head. "Do you know why I have to find a job every once in a while? I don't just do it for food, paper, materials, borrowing books. None of these don't cost money, and the prices are not low." Moon actually knew what Mimir said a long time ago. When he was copying the herbal atlas in Xilin, it was because paper and books were rare that he asked Xilin to borrow 2 from the herbal merchant. He knew paper and books in this world are very expensive, but Moon knows that it is not the case in another world. In fact, Moon had never thought about whether to copy the advanced knowledge dissemination method of another world to this world. But after seeing Mimir asking him to copy Anvil Song for the children in Veteran Alley, Moon decided that he had to do something. Mimir, I know this may not be so easy to believe, but you will soon see what I said become a reality. The journey from Xilin to the Vina Islands takes about 10 days without any accidents. That is to say, before actually landing on the Vina Islands, Moon has to return to Hogwarts once. Of course, this is just the safest plan in Moon's imagination, provided that there are no accidents. However, on the 7th day of the voyage of the Thorn, an accident still happened. Gold had rich experience in ocean voyages, and he knew that various emergencies were very likely to occur at sea. Sudden changes in weather, sudden whirlpools on the seabed, inexplicable thick fog, and unpredictable pirates. In order to deal with these emergencies, Gold arranged lookouts on the masts of each ship. They are often the first to discover various unexpected situations. An unidentified ship appeared 30 nautical miles southwest. Because the goddess was the last of the 3 ships, it was also the lookout of this ship who first discovered a suspicious ship that appeared behind the side of the fleet. The other party hoisted a pirate flag. "It is speeding towards us." At first, the appearance of ordinary ships did not attract much attention from Gold, and he just asked to observe closely. But when the other party entered 40 nautical miles, the pirate flag was hoisted, and Gold immediately asked the flag bearer to communicate. "Don't worry, sir. I'm familiar with the pirates in this area. As long as they know that Gold from the Thorn is here, they won't do anything out of line." After hearing the appearance of pirates, Moon immediately climbed to the top of the deck. Although Gold was very confident, Moon knew that he enjoyed the highest level of treatment on the Thorn, and he must do something at the critical moment. The pirate ship with a black skull flag in the distance continued to approach. Moon found that the flag bearer was waving the flag faster and faster, but the pirate ship showed no sign of stopping. "Whose ship is this? Why don't you abide by the agreement between us?" When Gold was roaring at the first mate frantically, a huge cannon sounded, which reached everyone's ears. Thanks to Book Friendies for the reward, 5 chapters today. Chapter 128 Artillery and Magic. Boom. After a loud noise came from the pirate ship. Moon saw a huge black cannonball fall in front of the Seagull. The water splashed more than 10 meters high, and the people on the Thorn in the distance were also soaked. "Everyone, get ready, grab the wind and turn the direction, speed up." Gold's face became very ugly after seeing the cannonball fall into the sea. While he frantically commanded the flag bearer to convey orders to the other 2 ships, he drew his saber and commanded all the crew members on the Thorn. Boom. Boom. After the pirate ship in the distance found that the prey was about to escape, it fired 2 more cannonballs in succession. "There's something wrong with this pirate ship." First Mate Karen was standing next to Moon at this time. He was ordered by Gold to protect the magician. Why is it wrong? Moon didn't know much about pirates, but when he saw the cannonball so close to the Thorn, he became more and more nervous. On the sea, ships are more valuable than anything else, so pirates rarely use artillery to attack. While First Mate Karen was explaining, 7 or 8 more cannonballs flew over. The accuracy of these shells was not high, But with the advantage of numbers, they still hit the mast of the goddess. Damn it! Whose ship is this? The mast was broken, and the goddess gradually pulled away from the two ships in front. But the Thorn and the Seagull were full of cargo and personnel, and because of the headwind, their sailing speed was far slower than the pirate ship. When the pirate ship appeared and Gold ordered full speed, the veterans in the second-floor cabin also came to the deck. They all surrounded Moon after seeing his figure. Although it was a bit panic, everyone stayed downstairs. I asked Brad to guard the cabin door to prevent any accidents. When seeing all the crew members taking action, Hall and the other 5 veterans all dressed neatly and came out with weapons. Some crew members saw them coming out and wanted to intercept them. But seeing the strong murderous intent on the veterans, no one dared to speak up. However, the people who had been living in the lower cabins panicked instantly when they learned that the pirates were coming. Fortunately, Gold ordered his men to lock the cabin door and prevent these people from coming out to make trouble. "We will stay here first and not interfere with the crew's affairs," Xilin gave the order after seeing that all the people were there. Although the people who came out of the veterans' alley had skills in killing the enemy, they were obviously not as good as these sailors in operating the ship. Okay, Hall and the other 5 did not question Xalin's order. After agreeing, they stood in a circle around Moon. Although Gold's 3 ships were all merchant ships, they were also equipped with firearms to deal with unexpected situations at sea. Among them were cannons and a batch of matchlock guns. When Gold found that the speed of the Thorn was far slower than that of the pirate ship, he immediately ordered to fire back. Boom! 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 The deafening sound of the cannon rang from the deck, and Moon only felt a roar in his ears. The distance of 10 nautical miles, coupled with a cannon with huge destructive power. These factors made the magic that Moon now mastered almost ineffective. Boom! A cannon landed nearby, and Xilin pressed Moon's head and crawled on the ground. "We have to do something, otherwise we will definitely be caught up." After getting up from the deck, Moon looked at Xilin. He didn't know what others thought, but Moon himself would never let anyone hurt the people in Veteran Alley. After hearing Moon's roar, Xilin was stunned for a moment, and then nodded heavily in agreement. "Okay. You tell me what to do, I'll go inform Gold. We must get close to the other party. Otherwise, it's too far, and my magic won't work at all." Hearing Moon say such a crazy plan, Xilin went to inform Gold without any hesitation. "No. We are a merchant ship, and the power of our cannons is not as good as the other party. If we are boarded by pirates, we can only wait for death." Gold was actually hesitant. He knew that his ship would definitely not be able to outrun the other party, so he wanted to use cannons to block it. But luck didn't seem to be on his side. Before Gold made up his mind, a cannonball came and hit the bottom of the cabin of the Thorn directly. Everyone on the deck was shaken. Damn it! After Gold stood firm by the side of the ship, he cursed loudly, and then looked at Moon, who was staring at the pirate ship not far away. "Okay, let's do as Lord Scarlett said." When Xilin returned, Gold announced the sailing order again. "Turn around. Full sail." The crew hesitated about this sudden suicide order. These people have not been tempered by the army, and they will not execute the order immediately when they know that it is not in their favor. "What are you all standing there for? We have a distinguished magician on board, and victory will definitely belong to us." After Gold shouted loudly, the crew looked at Moon at the same time. Although Gold ordered Moon's identity to be kept secret, after sailing for so many days, the crew inevitably guessed something. Moon knew that he needed to rely on these crew members at this time, and he must also give them confidence. He walked out of the circle surrounded by veterans and stretched out his right hand and raised it high. He didn't know what this gesture meant, but just copied the gesture that Gold had just issued the order. "Victory will belong to us." Moon only hated himself for not learning the loud voice at this moment. His voice change period made this sentence seem a lot weaker. However, the crew's reaction was completely beyond Moon's expectations. After seeing Moon really come out, every crew member no longer hesitated and began to turn the Thorn around. The wind direction instantly changed from headwind to tailwind, and the huge white canvas was directly blown by the sea breeze. Everyone on the ship was shocked by this sudden change. It was not just the people on the Thorn who were shocked. The pirates were also startled by the turn of the prey. However, seeing that the Thorn only turned and did not fire, they all laughed. The fat fish entered the net by itself. "Minions, get ready to enjoy the feast." After the Thorn turned, the speed suddenly increased, and the pirate ship also went in the opposite direction. The distance between the two ships was rapidly closing. Moon could gradually hear the happy roars from the pirate ship. "Help me find the location of their gunpowder barrels, don't miss any of them, okay?" Moon knew that Gold's 3 ships would definitely not be able to outrun the pirates, and his solution to the problem was actually the same as Gold's. It's just that Gold wanted to use the cannons on the Thorn to stop the pirate ship. But Moon wanted to use the pirate's own cannons to attack himself. "Found it, on the left side under the middle mast, at the tail of the cannon." After Gold saw the cannon through the telescope, Moon had already taken out his wand and aimed it in that direction. The distance was very far, and Moon was not sure whether his spell could hit accurately. However, Moon's research on the fire spell was no longer just learning it. Moon fine-tuned this spell more than 100 times before the hand-warming spell was born. For this, he also wrote a 2-inch record manual. All of this turned Moon's small fire spell into a bloodthirsty spell. When Moon recited the spell, flames instantly appeared not far from the gunpowder barrels on the pirate ship. There was no explosion. It doesn't matter, let the flames be bigger. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129, Use of Spells. The Vina Islands are composed of 6 main islands and more than 300 small islands. Many of them have not formed human settlements because of the underwater reefs and bad weather. These places have become a paradise for pirates. Miles on the Sea Snake Island is one of such pirates. Pirates also have their own organizations, and Miles also knows that some merchant ships cannot be robbed after hanging special flags. But compared with the pitiful wealth divided by the pirate organization, this time a big customer gave more, just to let the pirates go out to sea to rob. Before launching the war, the Manila Empire was very clear about its shortcomings. Because there are no natural large seaports and shipyards, the naval construction of the Manila Empire is far inferior to that of the Federation. This makes the Vina Islands temporarily a place far away from the war. But the Manila Empire also has its own advantages. They sent a large number of people carrying gold coins and various equipment to find the pirates hidden in the Vina Islands. Use the most tangible benefits to lure pirates to constantly harass nearby ships and islands, and truly cut off the rear supply line of the Gracia Federation. Miles received a lot of good things this time, and then went out to sea to rob. The Sea Snake was originally a 3-masted sailing ship, slightly larger than the Thorn, and very fast. Not only was the sail powerful, but there were also rowers on board, which enabled the Sea Snake to deal with various emergencies. Boys, this is a deal of 3 ships, much more profitable than the previous 2 times. As usual, I'll pick the women first, and the rest are yours. After the pirate leader Miles finished speaking, nearly 300 pirates on the ship laughed and roared. They robbed goods, played with women, and killed people to their heart's content. This period of time can be said to be the most comfortable time for the pirates on the Sea Snake. Just when the pirates were holding their weapons and shouting wildly, a gunpowder barrel suddenly exploded. Boom! The explosion happened in the crowd. Because there was no defense, 3 pirates next to them died directly, and even one of them was blown into several pieces. Which bastard didn't keep an eye on the torch in his hand? Miles stood on the command platform of the Sea Snake. He originally thought that the enemy's shells hit his ship. But after seeing the power of the explosion, he knew that it was the gunpowder barrel on his ship. This is a powerful guy sent by the Manila Empire. If you don't take good care of the torch, you will die. Boom. Boom. Before Miles finished speaking, another gunpowder barrel exploded. The number of gunpowder barrels exploding increased. Some were ignited by Moon's fire spell. Some were ignited by the flames produced by the explosion because the pirates were careless and placed the gunpowder barrels too close. As the number of gunpowder barrel explosions increased, the pirates panicked one by one, but some pirates still found something unusual. Push all the gunpowder barrels into the sea. Miles reissued the order, but the pirates had lost more than 30 people. The deck was full of flames and broken flesh and blood. The pirates who survived by chance also knew what was causing the trouble, so they lifted the gunpowder barrels and threw them into the sea. But in the process of throwing, there were still gunpowder barrels exploding. And more than a dozen pirates were torn to pieces by the strong gunpowder again. Boss. There might be a magician on the other side. Some smart pirates reacted and roared at Miles. What are you afraid of? It's not like I haven't killed a magician before. Miles already understood why these gunpowder barrels exploded. If it wasn't human factors, it could only be those damn magic. The distance between the enemy ship and the enemy ship was still getting closer, but because the sails on the Sea Serpent had just been burned, Miles could only let the slaves with their hands and feet tied up speed up the oars. I will make you look good. Seeing such a large number of casualties before they even touched the enemy's ship, Miles gritted his teeth, narrowed his eyes, and his expression became more sinister. He had already taken out the latest firearm sent by the Manila Empire. A percussion flintlock rifle made of metal and golden in color. The pirates saw Miles adding bullets to this gun, and they instantly gained confidence. The last time they robbed a ship, they also encountered a magician. The other party could also summon fire, but in the end they still couldn't avoid the bullets of this gun. After seeing the explosions on the pirate ship, Gold on the Thorn roared excitedly. Haha, the pirates are dead. The explosion on the pirate ship caused much more damage than the Thorn's cannon. The crew was also very excited at this time. They never thought that fighting pirates could be done this way. There were so many casualties before they even faced each other, which made them full of confidence in the next war. Just when Gold roared, people in the cabin came out with some longbow muskets. These were matchlocks that Gold specially bought for the ship. Because they were not used many times, some of the barrels had rust on them. However, Moon still asked him to take out all the long-range shooting tools. Not many of my crew members know how to do this. These should be enough. There were more than 100 matchlocks, and after the selection, there were still more than 50 left. Seeing that the guns were still in good condition and there were enough bullets, Xilin made his own suggestions. Some of the people living in the lower cabins should know how to use them, but, just now, Gold ordered to lock the lower cabins to prevent these people from running out to make trouble. Now Xilin asked him to release these people, and he was naturally reluctant. Don't worry, this battle shouldn't last long. Hearing Xalin's relaxed tone, Gold turned his head to look at Moon who was still casting spells, and then he made up his mind to ask someone to find someone who could use a musket. When the pirates pushed all the gunpowder into the sea, they were relieved. The explosion that just happened was enough to scare them, but now there was no gunpowder. They just wanted to get on board and retaliate fiercely. Moon's counterattack plan was of course not just the fire spell. After the sails on the pirate ship were burned, the speed slowed down a lot. Moon asked Gold to keep the thorn away, and then he started to cast a new spell, Leg Lock spell. This is the fastest and most familiar spell that Moon has mastered now. Moon can cast the Leg Lock spell 12 times in one breath. On the same pirate ship, 12 pirates were fixed in place. After the pirates were immobilized, they would soon have an arrow or a bullet hole on their bodies. This was the second round of counterattack. Moon cast the spell very quickly, and Xilin could keep up at first. But soon Xilin ran out of arrows, and the veterans immediately took over. However, their speed could not keep up with Moon and Xilin, so the 5 of them took turns shooting arrows in the direction of Moon. Chapter 130 More Than One Magician. It is much more difficult to conduct long-range shooting at sea than on land. The ship under his feet is swaying with the waves, and so is the target pirate's ship. There is also the ever-changing sea breeze direction. All these factors make it extremely difficult for bullets and arrows to hit the target. Compared with Miles' flintlock rifle that can only hold one bullet, the crew on the Thorn has more backward guns, but they have more guns. Moon's leg locking spell and petrification spell can also control the target to the maximum extent. This makes the crew of the Thorn more confident. Although their shooting skills are still very poor, the damage caused to the pirates is much greater. Everyone get down. After figuring out how the crew was shot, Miles screamed at all the pirates on the deck. Boss. Is there more than one magician on the opposite side, being able to summon fire and lock legs, especially with such a fast magic casting speed? These made the pirates wonder about the number of magicians on the opposite ship. No matter how many there are, I'll have someone stand in front of me and give me a chance to reload bullets. Even if there are 2 magicians, they will still die. Moon's leg lock curse, combined with Xilin and the veterans' archery skills, plus the crew's muskets with a pitiful low hit rate. The pirates on the opposite deck lost more than 50 people again. Sir Scarlett, what should we do if they all lie down? Gold was commanding all the musketeers on the deck at this time. After finding that there was no target in the field of vision, he shouted to Moon anxiously. Don't worry. Let everyone reload the bullets, I will make them jump up. Got it. After hearing Moon's order, Gold gave orders to the temporary musketeers in front without any doubt. "Little guys, did you hear it? As long as those bastards jump up in a while, you will shoot. Shoot hard." Among this temporary musketeer team, the crew members with the highest hit rate were not on the Thorn, but those who came out of the lower cabin. Lance, as the chief guard of the governor of Liuyan City, is very proficient in gunmanship. After leaving Albert to the care of the little witch Chris, he resolutely joined the battle against the pirates. Because there was a safe enough distance between them and the pirate ship, Lance would intentionally or unintentionally look at Moon, who was guarded in the middle by the veteran, every time he loaded and unloaded gunpowder. Lance had seen spellcasters before, but he had never heard of a magician like Moon who cast spells so quickly and was so young. Fortunately, there is such a magician on this ship. After Lance had such a thought in his mind, roars appeared again on the opposite pirate ship. But this time the pirates were not excited, but because of pain. After the pirates lay down, although they were covered by the side of the ship, their hair and clothes were inevitably exposed. The power of the fire spell was revealed again. As the range of Moon's wand gradually expanded, the pirates on the deck of the Sea Serpent jumped up in a panic. "Fire! Fire! Burn me to death, save me!" When the pirates were anxious to put out the flames on their hair with their hands, a round of arrows and bullets covered them again. Because they were prepared this time, the crew of the Thorn had a much better accuracy. The pirates had never encountered such a situation before. The double blow of fire and arrows made them feel afraid for the first time. Some pirates chose to jump into the sea after finding that the fire on their bodies could not be extinguished. As for more pirates, they found larger shelters and fled into the cabin. Return. Return. Let those bugs paddle quickly. There are definitely more than 2 magicians on the opposite side. After entering the cabin, Miles closed the cabin trapdoor with some fear. No matter how the pirates on the deck begged, he didn't want to open this wooden door to hell again. The pirates who hid in the cabin with Miles also wanted to return one by one. They picked up long whips and began to frantically whip the slaves who were responsible for paddling. "Report to your excellency, there are still 32 pirates on the deck." Gold no longer had the fear he had when he first saw the pirates. He was even a little excited now. Chase them. After discovering that the pirates were about to escape, Moon immediately changed his strategy. It was after the pirate ship turned that the most bizarre scene in the past 1,000 years occurred in the sea area. A medium-sized merchant ship was actually chasing the pirates who were terrified. Moon did not pay attention to the pirates hiding on the deck. After seeing the pirates close the cabin trapdoor because of fear, he began to look for targets on the deck. The gunpowder barrel exploded just now, destroying many things on the deck, which made it difficult for Moon to find a large box. However, he still found one at the stern of the pirate ship. Because there were no cannons and gunpowder in this location, the impact was very small. Box move. This was one of the life-related auxiliary spells that Moon originally prepared for ocean voyages. Now it has become a large lock that blocks the pirates' way out. While Gold and Xilin were commanding the muskets and archers, Moon was also using a spell to make this very bulky box gradually approach the trapdoor. Some pirates also discovered the strange root of the box. But as long as they dared to come out to stop it, then only arrows and bullets would be waiting for them. Clang. The large wooden box accurately blocked the trapdoor, and the latch and hinges on the door just stuck the wooden box firmly. Get ready to board the ship. After Moon completed this ultra-long distance box movement, he gave another order. Boarding. Boarding. Gold was extremely excited. In the past, he heard the word boarding mostly from pirates. But after he tried to shout it today, he realized that this was the feeling of comfort. Although the Sea Snake was a 3-masted sailing ship, its sails had long been burned, and only the rowers who rowed hard were maintaining its speed. But it was still not as fast as the Thorn under the wind. After the distance between the two ships became closer and closer, Gold took the lead in throwing a rope towards the pirate ship. Then one after another, the crew members followed suit and threw the ropes in their hands. This is a thing with a solid iron hook at the head and a strong hemp rope at the back. Merchant ships generally use it to fix ships in extreme weather, while pirates use it to lock prey that are ready to escape. After more than a dozen iron chains hooked the pirate ship, Moon could feel that the speed of the ship under his feet slowed down significantly. Lock it. Prepare to build a wooden bridge, Gold gave an order. And the first mate, Karen, led the men to put 5 long wooden boards that had been prepared in the middle of the two ships. Then the crew members who were aroused by the ferocity drew their long knives, stepped over the wooden boards and ropes and came to the sea snake. Moon did not stay on the thorn all the time. After helping the crew to get rid of all the pirates on the deck, 5 veterans escorted him through the wooden bridge and came to the cabin passage on the sea snake. Chapter 131 The Strange Change of the Spell. After arriving on the sea snake, when Moon was about to approach the big box at the entrance of the cabin passage, he was stopped by the veterans. Wait, you can't be in trouble now. The veterans who had participated in the war knew very well that anything unexpected could happen on the battlefield at any time. And Moon is not only the commander of this battle, but also the younger generation they have the highest hopes for. So at any time, they will not allow Moon to approach dangerous places. Xilin had the same idea, but after he got on the ship, he first went to finish off all the pirates on the deck. Finally, when he came back with a long knife that was still dripping with blood, he looked at Moon with satisfaction. Very good, I thought you would be so proud that you would approach carelessly. Moon did not answer. He did want to get closer to the big wooden box that was constantly shaking by the pirates below. Since we have entered the tunnel, let's use the old method. The soldiers of the Gracia Federation are very experienced in dealing with tunnel warfare. After Xilin said that, the veterans instantly understood that this was going to be a smoke attack. After moving the box on the trapdoor slightly away, Xilin chiseled a hole as big as a bowl in the wooden board. The veterans found some gunpowder barrels that were not fully burned, disassembled them and poured out the powder inside. Then they wrapped some yellow powder with damp old clothes, lit it and threw it directly into the cabin. The veterans cooperated tacitly. After doing all this, they stood aside and waited quietly. Ahem. Surrender, we surrender, cover it up quickly, don't throw it away, we surrender, in less than 10 minutes. The pirates in the cabin couldn't hold on any longer, and they began to knock on the trapdoor frantically again. Xilin did not agree to open the trapdoor directly, but nodded only after the pirates' voices inside became much quieter. Bang! After the trapdoor was opened, a thick smoke rushed out directly. Then pirate heads came up one after another. We surrender, ahem. The pirates who climbed out of the trapdoor had not yet caught their breath, and they were immediately hit by the butts of the crew's guns. After knocking them out one by one, they were all tied up with ropes. Is there anyone else down there? When the last pirate climbed up, Xilin put a knife to his neck and asked. No. Yes, 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 is there? Or no, yes, there are some bugs. Up, the slaves you mentioned, and the captain and his confidants have all hidden in the gunpowder room. After getting the answer from the pirate, Xilin knocked him out directly. A few of us good guys will go down and control the slaves first, and then find a chance to deal with the pirate leader. After Xilin finished speaking, he looked at Gold and Moon. Gold naturally needed some people, and Moon had to stay on the ship honestly. No, it's not difficult to control the slaves, but if the pirates occupy the gunpowder room, it will be very troublesome. Moon knew that Xilin didn't want him to go down because of his safety. But seeing Xilin and the veteran solve such an obviously impossible problem, he naturally wouldn't allow it. No, you have to trust me once, I was trained by you. Hearing Moon's unquestionable tone, Xilin hesitated and could only agree reluctantly. Okay, then I'll go first. The internal space structure of the sea snake is much more complicated than that of the thorn. It has a cabin dedicated to rowing between the two cabins. It was also here that Xilin and Moon found many slaves with iron chains on their hands and feet. These people almost didn't have a complete set of clothes on them. They were either shirtless or with their legs exposed. After Moon entered this cramped cabin, he found that the slaves couldn't make big movements at all. The very short and extremely strong iron chains could only allow them to row and eat. The sanitary conditions in the cabin were very poor. Xilin frowned and checked around. After finding that there were no pirates hiding, they went to the gunpowder room below. The gunpowder and artillery on the sea snake were replaced recently. The new gunpowder and cannons had been moved to the deck long ago, and Moon had just used the fire spell to blow them up. Most of the gunpowder bags left in the gunpowder room were old-fashioned gunpowder bags. When they saw people going down to the bottom of the cabin one after another, 3 pirates came out of a small room with tinder and gunpowder bags. Don't come over, or we will all die together. Walking in the front of the team was Xilin. After entering the cabin, he never put down the bow and arrow in his hand. Half a body behind him was Lance. This guard who escaped from Luoyan City had already won the recognition of most people in the battle just now. Behind him were Hall and Moon. Because Moon's height had not yet grown, His body shape was completely covered by the three people in front. The team did not stop moving forward because of the pirates' threats. The pirates were obviously scared at this time. Seeing that the people on the opposite side were still approaching, they subconsciously wanted to get closer to the gunpowder bags with a tinder in their hands. Moon's spell sounded again, clear water like a spring. This is one of the life-related auxiliary spells that Moon has been practicing for 2 weeks. It can be cast 3 times in a row. Puff, the flame on the tinderbox disappears and a puff of green smoke comes out. Before the pirates can react, 3 sharp arrows have been shot out. Boom boom boom, the pirates fall one by one. Xilin quickly ran over and completely extinguished the smoking tinderbox in the pirate's hand. However, just when Xilin stepped on the tinderbox, a gunshot that had never been heard before rang out. Bang! Miles was very unwilling. His personality was just like the name of his ship. Sea Serpent. Wait for the opportunity and then deliver the most fatal blow. When Miles found out that the magician was just a child, he didn't care about being surprised and pulled the trigger at Moon without hesitation. Moon didn't expect that. He just stuck his head out to cast a spell and then was targeted. Save yourself. Save yourself. When Moon saw the pirate leader holding up a pistol, he knew that no one could help him. Moon's brain fell into a strange state at this moment. He remembered clearly that this state had also appeared when he made his first magic wand. At that time, he accomplished something that was almost impossible in this state. Now, when the state appeared again, Moon found that everything around him seemed to be slowing down. Xilin's roar, Hull's dodging to block, Lance's incredibleness, all of these seemed to be slowed down by hundreds of times. Of course, this also included the brass bullet. It was also at this moment that the spell of floating spell flashed through Moon's subconscious mind. With Moon's practice, this spell can make 5 anchor iron rings float easily, and the spell casting speed is also very fast. However, Moon was very sure that he did not recite the spell out loud this time, and the magic wand was only waved subconsciously. But this spell really worked. The bullet flew at a high speed and began to float upwards 1 meter away from Moon. Then it flew past Moon's scalp. Moon was very fortunate that the gun was only aimed at his forehead, not his heart. Ling. Moon heard the sound of bullets hitting metal in the wooden cabin. Then came the shouts of Xilin and Hall. The strange magical state disappeared, but Moon had a strange feeling. He seemed to be different. Chapter 132. You are the devil. You are a devil. This was the only sentence that Miles, the biggest pirate leader on the pirate ship, said when he fell. It was also the sentence that the people who were still in the cabin heard the most clearly and felt the most. Some people around were cheering, some were grateful, and more were happy to have survived. But no matter what the situation was, they looked at Moon with a little more awe and complexity. Moon didn't know if he was a devil, he only knew that he had just learned to cast a spell silently. This is a way of casting spells without reciting spells. Wizards only need to wave their wands and use their thoughts to complete the spell. Silent spells are faster than ordinary spells. This is also the reason why Moon was able to deviate the bullet in a very short time. However, when he used the floating spell to successfully deflect the bullet, a crisp metal collision sound was heard. What exactly was this sound? Moon had seen the bullet penetrate the wooden board without any hindrance. And the sound was still ringing in his ears. It could only be related to him. While Moon was thinking, Xilin and Hall had already surrounded him. What happened just now? You waved your wand too fast. I couldn't see it clearly. Since Xilin could admit it quickly, Moon knew that he must have waved his wand very fast just now. I don't know what happened, but I survived, didn't I? Xilin didn't know when Moon became so reckless. But he saw the shadow of his father in the boy in front of him. Moon's father also risked his life to dig Xilin out of the pile of dead bodies. It was precisely because of this that he decided to stay by Moon's side. You should learn some protective magic. I know, I will learn it next time I go to bed. Sleeping and learning magic. Only Xilin knew what Moon was talking about. Protective magic. Moon had just heard Hermione talk about it last week. When the little witch went to the library to find information related to color change, she accidentally discovered a spell called Iron Armor Curse. When Moon learned about this spell, it was already Sunday night. He returned to the Thorn before he had time to learn this complex spell. Moon decided to learn this spell when he went to Hogwarts, and figure out what the strange state he entered twice was. 279 pirates. This is the statistics of the captured and intact bodies. As for the pirates who were blown to pieces and jumped into the sea and never came up again, Gold estimated that there were about 100. Sir, how do you plan to deal with these pirates? After cleaning up the battlefield, Gold found Moon again. His tone now became more humble and respectful than when he first met Moon. Gold never thought that there would be a day in his life when he would defeat the pirates, and he would win a great victory without anyone dying. Because of Moon's existence, only 2 crew members of the Thorn accidentally fell into the sea when they were passing the ropes during this boarding. But this is nothing for people who make a living on the sea all year round. Gold knew very well what he relied on to defeat the pirates this time, so when facing Moon, he bent his waist a little lower. How did you deal with pirates before? Moon had no experience in dealing with pirates, and this was even the first time he saw pirates. When we saw pirates before, they either paid protection fees or ran away, so, Gold said this. And suddenly thought of something, and bent down again to say, Sir, maybe we can sell these pirates to the officials of the Vina Islands. They have been publicly offering rewards for pirates. After Gold's explanation, Moon learned that the Vina Islands had issued a reward for all pirates in the coastal waters. For ordinary pirates, the reward is 5 gold coins, and if they can be captured alive, the reward will be doubled. As for higher-level pirates, the reward is between 100 and 1,000 gold coins, and the reward will also be doubled if they are captured alive. I just tortured these bastards. They were originally in the southeast of the Vina Islands, occupying a small island called Sea Snake Island. Southeast? Moon asked in surprise. Yes, I don't know why they ran here and ran into us. It seems that they are destined to fall into our hands. The Thorn travels between the Federation and the Vina Islands all year round. This area is northwest of the Vina Islands, so Gold was so unfamiliar when he saw this group of pirates. However, sir, this pirate leader is definitely worth no less than 500 gold coins. He occupied an island. It's a pity that he was not captured alive. When Gold said this, he immediately shut up and looked at Moon carefully. Oh, sorry, sir, I know this pirate leader just now, it doesn't matter. Anyway, the dead are worth money. I'll leave it to you to collect the reward. Remember to distribute the money to all those who have contributed, okay? Don't worry, sir. After receiving the order, Gold went to deal with the pirate captives. Moon could see that this sea merchant was very happy today. I didn't expect that after leaving the army for more than 10 years, I experienced the taste of licking blood on the blade again today. Okay, Hall, if Moon wasn't here today, more than 300 pirates. With us and those crew members, it's not certain who will die, of course I know, but old Luke, don't you feel satisfied with killing pirates today? Of course it's satisfying. Moon would not do the work of cleaning up the battlefield himself. After the battle, for the sake of Moon's safety, he was asked by everyone to stay on the deck of the Sea Snake. For this reason, 2 veterans have been watching over Moon. Hearing the conversation between the 2 veterans, Moon laughed. These veterans have been suppressed in Xilin town since they came down from the battlefield. This time, Neil left for the Snow Eagle Mountain defense line without them, which made these veterans complain more than once. Uncle Hall, Uncle Luke, there are actually more exciting things. What is it? The 2 old men with the gray hair and beards no longer looked at Moon as if he were their children and grandchildren. After this battle, the 2 veterans also knew that Moon had truly become the backbone of their people. What do you think about us leaving this ship behind? Moon had just been observing the situation of the ship on the deck. Although this pirate ship was blown up a lot by Moon's fire spell, because its material is very hard, the real core components were not destroyed. The keel, 3 masts, rigging, and rudder are all intact. Only the deck and the side panels were blown up a lot, and the 3 sails were also burned. There was still an open fire on the ship, but it was all extinguished after Moon and his team got on board. Is this ship still usable? Hall, who had been working as a blacksmith and farming in Xilin, didn't know the structure of the ship. He just saw broken wooden boards and burnt marks everywhere on the ship. Of course, I have to try it, and don't forget, I'm a spellcaster. After Moon finished speaking, he cast a repair spell on a shattered deck on the ship. Chapter 133 The Magician's Legacy. Repair spell is one of the spells that Moon learned in the spell class. This spell is also a life-assisting spell that Moon prepared for the voyage, and he has practiced it for more than 2 weeks. Originally, Moon's repair spell could only repair some small pieces of wood. But now he has the blessing of the old willow wand, and the large pieces of broken deck can be easily repaired. After Moon quickly repaired a huge break on the deck, the look in Hall's eyes changed from disbelief to ecstasy. Ship. We are going to have a big ship. Hall said and asked old Luke to stay and take care of Moon, and he went to inform everyone in the Veterans Alley. After leaving Xilin, everyone was very worried, and everyone was thinking about how to live next. In addition to food, the most important thing is of course the housing problem. The veterans originally thought that they might be able to temporarily set up tents in the wild to live, but the old and weak could not stick to it. Especially now that it has entered winter, the weather will get colder and colder. But now that there is a big ship, this problem will be solved. The veterans who were cleaning the battlefield in other places quickly rushed back after hearing the news. In their opinion, the little gain from cleaning up the battlefield was far less than getting a ship. And now no one on the ship dared to detain and hide Moon's things. After all, in the battle just now, the magician's magical ability shocked everyone. Especially after the pirate leader shouted "You're a devil." Before his death, everyone's respect for Moon was completely raised to a higher level. Moon cast the repair spell again in front of the veterans. When they were sure that Moon's magical magic could bring this dilapidated ship back to life, the veterans began to help. They picked up some wooden boards that could still be used and placed them in the gaps of the deck, and then waited for Moon to cast the spell. With the addition of the veterans, Moon's speed of casting the repair spell gradually increased. After repairing the entire deck of the ship, Moon found that his repair spell could also be cast silently. This is the second silent spell he has mastered. After repairing the deck, Moon began to use the cleaning spell to thoroughly clean up the blood on the deck. Cleaned up. After cleaning the entire ship, Moon once again mastered a silent spell. When these tasks were completed, all the families of the veterans who originally lived on the second floor of the Thorn came to the new ship. Cousin Moon, does this ship have a name? After wandering around the brand new ship, Sophia found Moon. Grandpa Mimior said that every big ship has its own name, just like all city-states, of course. How about Scarlet Moon? When Moon was repairing the entire ship, he had already thought about naming the ship. The pirates originally called this big black ship Sea Snake, but Moon did not want to use this cruel name. Thinking back, it was all because of the Scarlet Moon that he went to another world to learn magic, and then he had this ship. So Moon named the new ship Scarlet Moon. When the Scarlet Moon was cleaned up after the war, no treasures left by the pirates were found. This disappointed Gold, who had always wanted to make another fortune. However, when Xilin was looking through the pirates' utility room, he found something related to magicians. A very worn-out alchemy notes. Is there a magician on this pirate ship? Moon became suspicious when he saw the yellowed record book. When Moon was repairing and cleaning the entire cabin, he didn't find anything related to magic at all. No, I asked the pirates, and they said that Miles had killed a magician a month ago, and also got a notebook in a box from this magician. Hearing what Xilin said, Moon was only slightly surprised, and then he figured it out. The pirate leader's special flintlock rifle had been installed on Xilin. If it was this gun, coupled with the unexpected situation, then an ordinary magician might really not be able to block the bullet. Moon roughly flipped through the notes and found that it contained the alchemy records of a magician named Fail Holmes. Key believers. From this manual, Moon knew that Fail Holmes wanted to make a magic key, and his identity was actually a believer. What? Is there a problem? Not yet, but the box you just mentioned should contain a key. While Moon and Xilin were discussing the alchemy notes, Gold had already dealt with the pirate captives and returned to the big black ship again. Hey, sir, do you want to accept this ship? Seeing that the entire pirate ship had completely changed in less than half a day, Gold was once again shocked by Moon's magic. Yes, is there a problem? No, no, no. How can I have a problem? I just got a key from the pirate leader's neck, Gold said, holding a brass key strung with black silk thread in both hands. Moon only took a glance and knew that this was the one recorded in the alchemy notes. Thank you very much, this is very useful to me. Oh, don't say that, if you weren't here, I might not be able to keep all three of my ships. Gold has long lost his former prestige. Especially after seeing that Moon had a new ship, he was afraid that this powerful magician would leave alone. Now it is still 3 days away from the Vina Islands. He was originally very confident about this route. But the appearance of strange pirates forced Gold to think more about the safety of the next voyage. But sir, have you thought about what power this ship will use to sail? Let my ship tow it, or use those slaves. When the fire spell was used to bomb the pirates just now, the three-masted sails on the Scarlet Moon had all been burned. Even if Moon wanted to use the repair spell, it was impossible. I want to use magic to temporarily copy the sails on the Thorn, I wonder if it's possible. Oh, just like copying a sea chart. Yes, of course, whatever you want, Gold said and looked at the three-masted mast on the Scarlet Moon. Sir, I have observed that the big sail on the Thorn should be directly available for use. With a judgment of Gold, an experienced sailor, Scarlet Moon is now truly capable of sailing on the sea. Of course, there is still a problem to be solved during this period. The slaves called bugs by the pirates. After the battle, Xilin first asked for information about all the slaves. Most of these people are adult men, some are ordinary people who were just robbed by pirates a month ago, and some are natives captured by pirates on the island. But no matter what their identities are, Moon does not plan to keep them. Although the pirates were successfully killed this time, the food problem was not completely solved. Moon did not plan to learn from the pirates to rob. So keeping the slaves would only be a meaningless consumption of food. After discussing with Xilin, Moon decided to return the freedom of all the slaves after arriving at the Vina Islands. However, the premise is that all pirates must stay in the rowing room honestly during the last 3 days of the voyage. Chapter 134, Mr. Magician. The premise for Moon to be willing to give the slaves freedom was naturally to ensure that they would not threaten the safety of the people in the old soldier alley. Although these slaves had been tortured by the pirates to the point of being unrecognizable, they were all adult men after all. Moon would naturally have the necessary precautions. After dealing with the pirates on the Scarlet Moon, Moon followed Gold to the Thorn. This ship and the goddess, which was parked not far away, were hit by the pirates' artillery. Although the crew made temporary repairs, they still could not support the voyage to the Venus Islands. In particular, the main mast of the goddess fell completely on the deck, which made the large ship completely unable to move. The mast was broken. If it were in the past, Gold could only find a way to replace it. But for Moon now, it was just a matter of a spell. The largest damaged area on the Thorn was in the lower cabin, where a hole was formed after being hit by artillery. Most of the lower cabin was below sea level, and it was originally used to enlarge bulk cargo. However, after Gold returned to Xilin and found that many people wanted to take the boat, he temporarily transformed it into a cabin for people. When the pirates attacked, Gold had locked the door here for a while. Water was seeping from the bottom of the cabin, and the upward passage was blocked. The people arranged here had no hope of survival. But soon Moon instructed Gold to find someone who was proficient in firearms. The door was opened, and there were crew members to repair the loopholes, which made everyone less desperate. But the arrival of pirates was still a huge threat at that time. The crew members who stayed in the cabin were actually not much better than these passengers. They knew very well that falling into the hands of pirates would be more painful than death. However, with the joy of victory on the deck and the shouts of "Long live the magician," the people who stayed in the cabin had a great confidence. Most of the passengers did not care why there were magicians on the ship, they only cared whether they could survive. But the little witch Chris did not think so. In her cognition, being able to cast magic to attack pirates in the distance was no longer a power that ordinary magicians could possess. Was it the magician who killed the pirates? Of course. It was the great Lord Scarlett. I was lucky enough to have my legs locked by him. Chris confirmed 2 pieces of information from the crew's words. There was indeed a magician on the ship who could kill pirates equipped with cannons. And this magician could use magic to lock people's legs. Chris was very sure that not only she herself did not have these 2 abilities, but the magician who taught her to make potions also did not have them. When Moon boarded the pirate ship, the people in the lower cabin were forced to move to the corridor of the cabin. Until Moon returned to the deck of the Thorn, the loud voices of Lord Magician resounded throughout the Thorn. Every time Moon walked by, a crew member would bow to Moon with his right hand clasped in front of his chest. This is the highest etiquette for the crew to treat distinguished guests. Lord Scarlett, Dung. Lord Magician, Dung. Moon continued with this etiquette and entered the lower cabin. Unlike the crew's reverence, the passengers were a little nervous, surprised, and even scared when they saw Moon. However, they bowed their heads symbolically. Moon did not pay attention to the expressions of these people. He just wanted to repair the hole and then copy the sail to make the Scarlet Moon move as soon as possible. The hole at the bottom of the cabin of the Thorn was not big. It should be that the shells hit it and fell into the sea. The crew hurriedly found wooden boards to reinforce it, which made the seawater flowing into the cabin much smaller. Moon lay in the water up to his knees and came to the hole and took out a magic wand. Repair as before. After the spell was cast, the hole instantly returned to its original appearance. Oh! It's amazing, thank God. Such a young magician, this can really work. Moon accurately found a different and familiar voice in the exclamations of the people around him. Since Moon entered the cabin, the little witch Chris was more surprised than others. No way. The little ship doctor is actually a magician. Chris never thought that Moon, who looked younger than him, would be the magician who saved the entire ship. Your potion is very good. After hearing Chris's voice, Moon came to her and said, "Huh? Thank you, Mr. Magician." Chris stood in the crowd for a long time. After she stuttered to express her gratitude, Moon had already walked away. However, after hearing the word potion, the people around her also knew Chris's true identity. Unsurprisingly, a vacuum range with a diameter of 1 meter immediately appeared around Chris. Under the strong propaganda of the Federation and the Empire, magicians have a very bad reputation among the people. They are often described as evil wizards who use human corpses to practice magic. Chris actually guessed that there would be such a situation today. After all, she was carrying human corpses. Lance, who had returned after dealing with the pirates, took the initiative to step forward and express his gratitude after discovering the embarrassing situation of the little witch. "Thank you very much for your potion. I didn't expect you to know this, Master." Lance is actually like the crew on the ship. He has great respect for Moon. Especially after Lance saw all of Moon's magic at close range. Emitting flames, summoning water, moving boxes. These were not strange to Lance. He had seen the same magic at the military academy in Xilin City. It was just that the speed of those spellcasters was far less than that of Moon, and the magic power was far less. However, what shocked Lance the most was that Moon dodged the bullet of the pirate leader at the last moment. And the sentence "you are a devil." Chris didn't care about the looks of people around her. It was Lance's last reminder that made Chris react instantly. Then the little witch chased in the direction where Moon left. When Chris learned that she had a talent for magic, she was determined to become a real magic master. Her family was also very supportive, but the person who taught her magic was not strong and sincere. Now that she met Moon, Chris felt like she had found a life-saving straw and wanted to hold on to it tightly. All hearsay is not as good as seeing it with your own eyes. Moon just cast a spell and fixed a loophole that no one could do. Just this one magic, Chris was very sure that her teacher could not do it. Ta-da-da! When Chris quickly climbed onto the deck, Moon was casting the copy spell on a huge white sail. There were no fancy moves. After the spell was finished, an identical sail fell directly from midair. The veterans saw this scene, ran over happily, packed up the sail and returned to the Scarlet Moon. Chris, however, stood there, her mouth wide open in surprise. Chapter 135 Mysterious Alchemy. You want to learn magic from me? After Moon returned to the Scarlet Moon, the little witch Chris followed him immediately. Yes, please take me in. The little witch Chris knelt on one knee in front of Moon. Moon knew that this was the highest etiquette for the master and apprentice to truly impart knowledge in this world. But Moon didn't think he could teach others magic now, so he immediately stopped the little witch when she knelt. Don't be like this, I don't know much. Moon was telling the truth. Most of the knowledge he had now was the basic magic for first-year students at Hogwarts. In his opinion, these things were far from being worthy of being someone else's teacher. No. You are the youngest and most talented magician I have ever seen, Chris said excitedly. Huh? How many magicians have you seen? Only one besides you. Moon originally wanted to learn more about magicians through Chris, so he asked more questions out of curiosity. But he didn't expect that this little witch didn't have a very broad knowledge. But even if you are one, you are absolutely incomparable. Moon learned the true identity of the witch from the story of the little witch Chris. Chris Calvin. 13 years old this year, a villager of Machiko village at the foot of Snow Eagle Mountain. When she was 8 years old, she was discovered to have a talent for magic by a magician named Byron Chelsea, so she began to learn magic. In the first 2 years of learning magic, Byron Chelsea taught Chris how to control magic power and identify the raw materials of potions. And told Chris that if she wanted to learn more magic, she must provide something valuable in exchange. Raw materials for potions or gold coins are fine. It was also under this rule that the Calvin family spent all their property to help Chris raise raw materials for potions. Chris was also very hard-working. She learned a hemostatic potion in a very short time, although the success rate was not very high. However, this unfair transaction soon had no way to continue. Not only did the Calvin family no longer have anything valuable to offer, but Chris's identity also began to be discovered by the villagers. Especially after learning that the war was coming, Byron Chelsea disappeared directly one night. He's a liar. The liar who drugged Master Calvin. Aunt Whitney, who had been following Chris, couldn't help cursing again after hearing this. Chris didn't stop Aunt Whitney from continuing this time. After so many days on the ship, she had also figured it out that she might have really been deceived. Sir Scarlett, if you don't want to take me as a student, a fair exchange is fine. I can tell you the formula of the potion, fair exchange. This is exactly the trading rule between magicians that Byron Chelsea warned Chris. Wait, I don't need this formula. Seeing the little witch Chris eagerly rummaging in her messenger bag, Moon hurriedly stopped her. Moon already knew the formula of the hemostatic potion, and the efficacy of the successfully refined potion was much better than Chris's. Seeing Moon's refusal, Chris was obviously a little panicked. She didn't know what else she could take out for exchange. But she really didn't want to miss Moon, a genuine magician. I can be your servant, as long as you teach me magic. I really don't need it. I can wash clothes. Moon did not refuse with words this time. He took out his wand and cast Stain Dissipation on his clothes that were already a little dirty. Chris's eyes lit up when she saw this, and then she said quickly, I can iron clothes. 1. Flat as new. I can serve tea and pour water. 1. Clear water like a spring. I can move things. 1. Move boxes. After Moon cast all the magic, the little witch Chris was about to cry. She originally only wanted to learn the magic that could repair things in Moon's hands, and even decided to exchange it with potion formulas. But now what she has, Moon not only doesn't like, but also shows so many magic. This makes Chris feel like facing a mountain of gold, but can't take away a grain of gold. Why don't you say you can cook? After seeing the little witch's perseverance, Moon actually doesn't mind teaching her some magic. All the spells just now were just a test, and Moon was afraid that the other party would say that he could cook. After all, Moon did not master this magic. Oh, because I can't cook? Hearing Chris's true answer, Moon laughed beside him. This, sir, I can actually cook. Aunt Whitney, who was standing beside him, immediately spoke up after seeing the predicament of her young master. Mammy, you? After hearing Aunt Whitney say this, Chris turned her head and looked over with some emotion. Don't say it, young lady. I know you have always wanted to learn magic, but the man before was a liar. After Aunt Whitney said this, she hurriedly stepped forward and wiped the tears from Chris's face. This sir in front of you is a real magician, young lady, you can't miss it. Moon didn't know why he finally agreed to this master and servant. He didn't let them wash clothes and cook, nor did he let them serve tea and water. He just asked Aunt Daisy to arrange for them to stay on the Scarlet Moon for a while. When the Scarlet Moon was repaired and ready to set off, Gold sent many crew members from other ships to help, including Lance's group. The Thorns' first mate Karen came here to help the veterans master the boat-driving skills, but Xilin seemed to be very familiar with everything on the ship. In his own words, I was originally a sailor, and then I joined the army. Moon was no longer surprised that Xilin knew a lot of things. In his opinion, as long as he didn't understand something, he could probably find Xilin to solve it. Of course, this was limited to ordinary people's things. As for magic, Moon could only rely on himself. After the Scarlet Moon began to sail, the veterans gave Moon the best room. Moon, who couldn't refuse, could only study the newly obtained alchemy notes in this room that was much more spacious than the Thorn. There are many unfamiliar magic-specific terms in this note, and it will take some time for Moon to fully understand it. However, there are also many alchemy experiences left by the author in the note. The book mentioned the organization of the non-believers, magic age, definitely rescue, and key many times. Moon also speculated from these words that the key carried by the pirate leader should be used to open a kind of magic cage and rescue someone. But what exactly is this magic cage? And who is to be rescued? The book did not mention it clearly. Alchemy. I remember that this is a course that only 6th-year students in Hogwarts can take. Moon was a little worried while playing with a brass key in his hand. Alchemy. It is not a field that Moon can touch with his current magic ability. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 New Mysterious Abilities. When Moon dodged the bullet and mastered the silent levitation spell, his magic changed strangely. At that time, a crisp metal collision sounded in Moon's ears, but Moon asked everyone afterwards and found that only he heard the sound. Now that all the urgent matters have been resolved, Moon has time to investigate what the sound is. The wizard bar has been broken. From the reflection in the mirror in the room, Moon found that his wizard bar not only broke through the first bar, but also had half a bar on the second bar. It should not be just the change caused by the breakthrough of the wizard bar. Moon is sure that he has a strange feeling now. This feeling appeared when he carried the Aquarius grass to Hogwarts. Could it be that the ability to carry items has changed? Moon has long been accustomed to the existence of wizard bars. Although this is the first time he has experienced a breakthrough in a wizard bar, he thinks that the strange sound should be related to this ability. It's too early to speculate now. It's best to test it when I return to Hogwarts. Moon now travels between the two worlds once every 7 days. If this ability can really allow him to carry items from Hogwarts back to the world where Xilin is, then the only way to verify the authenticity is to wait until the next time he returns. The next 3 days of sea travel were very safe. When Moon heard someone on the deck cheering and seeing land, he knew that the danger was temporarily lifted. First Mate Karen soon came to report that they had arrived at Knitsport. Moon had just finished reading the alchemy notes at this time. There are the most ships in Knitsport. We must line up to enter the port, and we will be able to land around tomorrow morning. Through the nautical chart of the Vina Islands and the introduction of the crew along the way, Moon had already had a comprehensive understanding of the destination this time. The Vina Islands are composed of 6 major island groups: Caesar's Island Group, Salmon Island Group, Andros Island Group, Orem Island Group, Hefis Island Group, and Xingjan Island Group. There are dozens or hundreds of small islands around each island group. All these islands together constitute the largest territory of the Gracia Federation. And the Knitsport where Moon and his team landed this time is the westernmost port on Salmon Island. This is also a transit point connecting the Gracia Federation and the Vina Islands, and the maritime trade is very developed. Here we can exchange all those pirates for money, and then replenish some supplies. Accompanied by Karen, Moon came to the deck of the Scarlet Moon and looked at the land in the distance. Salmon Island is the second largest island in the Vina Islands. The main cities are concentrated on the west coast, and most of them are built on the port. There are many ships in and out of the Knitsea port, which is much busier than Xilin. You can discuss the voyage with Xilin, and remember to put all the slaves on the ship. Hearing that Moon was still thinking about the slaves, the first mate Karen showed a helpless expression on his face. In his opinion, those slaves are also money. Even if they don't use them themselves, selling them to others is also a lucrative income. But unfortunately, he is not the person in charge on the Scarlet Moon. When the Scarlet Moon was about to arrive at the Vina Islands, a secret team on the land of the Gracia Federation had just arrived in Xilin. This team consists of 7 spellcasters and 14 guardians. This is the largest force of spellcasters that the Gracia Federation can mobilize during the preparations for the war. Even after learning that the court mages and night owls of the Manila Empire had come to this remote town, Lieutenant General Layton, who was stationed at the Snow Eagle Mountain defense line, also secretly arrived at this remote town. As the highest-ranking spellcaster in the Gracia Federation, the appearance of Layton Gatlin made everyone in the team guess, what exactly are the top leaders of the Federation looking for here? To know the answer to this question, the spellcasters first thought of Michael Rich. It was this spellcaster with the rank of Major who was surrounded by the court mages and night owls of the Manila Empire here. Teacher, it was near the dock that I met the court mage with a blood star on his mask. Michael Rich was accepted as a student by Lieutenant General Layton very early because he was very talented in defensive and protective magic. 1 star? In that case, he should be a senior court mage. The fact that you can escape shows that you have not forgotten my warning. When Lieutenant General Layton heard his students talking about the information of the court mage, his face became even colder. The improvement of magic power lies in hard training. Your words have never been forgotten by students. Well, not bad. Lieutenant General Layton and his students are all from the ascetic school among the federal spellcasters. They all believe that through self-restraint and strict discipline, they can help them find the real magic power to improve themselves. There are only 15, no, 15, senior court mages of the Mad King. To be able to send one here, there must be something important. The court mages of the Manila Empire are divided into apprentices, trainee court mages, court senior mages, court great mages, and court chief mages. In addition to the magic power of the court mages themselves, The degree of loyalty to the Mad King is also one of the important measurement indicators for this level division. During the last war between the Manila Empire and the Federation, a senior court mage fled and became the vice president of the Federation's Spellcaster Academy. This is also the reason why Lieutenant General Layton just said that there are only 15 senior court mages. I was just ordered to hunt down Albert Suarez's youngest son. As for what the court mage is looking for, I really don't know. Mitchell felt that he was very unlucky during this period. First, he met a dragon-controlling mage in Liuyan City and tried his best to guard the gate of Liuyan City. When chasing the fugitive, he unexpectedly met another senior court mage. After escaping with his life this time, he was unconscious in bed for 3 days before waking up. Suarez, this old guy can't be a traitor. I don't know what the 5 old men in Xilin City did. Hearing Lieutenant General Layton slandering the Federation's top 5-member group, Mitchell didn't dare to say a word. As one of the next members of the 5-member group, Layton can actually give suggestions on some of the highest resolutions. But since the preparations for the war began, he has been stationed at the Snow Eagle Mountain defense line, which made him learn the news much later. Teacher, although I don't know what they are looking for. But after investigation, I found that they took away the sheriff and the abbot of Xilin town. Mikhail panicked when he heard his teacher say that Suarez was probably not a traitor. He not only participated in the operation to siege Suarez's mansion, but also chased his son for 3 days in the end. But now he heard his teacher call him an old friend, which made him try to change the subject. Took these 2 people away? It seems that we need to ask that old guy to read their memories, reading other people's memories. Whether in the Manila Empire or the Gracia Federation, this is a very advanced magic. And now among the wizards of the 2 sides, the only one who can master this magic is the chief magician of the court beside the Mad King, Gabriel Walter. Check. We must find out what they are looking for. After learning that Xilin had attracted Gabriel's attention, Lieutenant General Layton issued the highest level of order. Chapter 137 Hermione's Explanation. When Moon returned to the 4-poster bed at Hogwarts from the room of Scarlet Moon, Moon was very excited. He was now very sure that the crisp metal collision sound gave him the ability to carry items. However, what he could carry and how much he could carry would require him to test it when he returned to Scarlet Moon this week. Moon guessed that this ability should be constantly evolving, and it slowly evolved after his connection with the 2 worlds continued to deepen. Just like he didn't have this ability before, but now he has changed some things about the 2 worlds. And this ability suddenly came. Then as Moon's relationship with the 2 worlds becomes closer, will there be more similar abilities? Of course, these are still just Moon's guesses, but these incredible things are enough to make Moon sleepless all night. Bengbeng, who was sleeping in the tree nest, felt a movement of Moon tossing and turning in bed. After the little guy pushed open the small wooden door of the tree nest, he tilted his head and looked out suspiciously. Chi, why don't you sleep? Oh, I was wondering when I could invite Bong Bong to my house. Moon's voice was very low, for fear of disturbing others' sleep. Chi, isn't your home in that bridge hole? Of course not. My current home is a very big ship, much bigger than this house. Chi, really? Then when will you take me there? Maybe next week. Chi, okay, I'll wait for you. After getting a relatively certain date, Bong Bong happily returned to the tree nest bed. Moon could see that the little guy was proudly swinging his 2 little paws behind him. Seeing Bong Bong happy, Moon's mood also recovered. He was smiling all the time until he got up in the morning. After getting up early to complete the research on growth magic in the lounge, Moon's classmates got up one after another. When he saw Hermione again, Moon directly asked about the protective magic, Iron Armor Charm, she mentioned last week. Ironclad Charm, it's really too difficult. Wait a moment, I'll get the borrowed book. If Hermione said it was difficult, then this spell might not be simple. The little witch returned from the dormitory quickly, holding 3 big books in her hands. The History of Magical Warfare, Theory of Magical Defense, Understanding of Spell Transfiguration. Do you have to read so many books just to learn a spell? Seeing Hermione put the 3 big books on the table and flip through them, Moon asked curiously. Of course this spell is a 5th grade course. I also found the name, spell, and wand-wielding technique of the Ironclad Charm in these 3 books, so that's how it is. Aren't you afraid that the combination is wrong? Seeing Hermione constantly looking through the contents of the book, Moon couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. A spell like this, which is pieced together, is bound to have some omissions. I thought of it a long time ago, So after I found this spell, I went to ask Percy about it. Moon didn't expect that Hermione and the red-haired fifth-year senior had a good relationship. In Moon's impression, Percy's character was very strict. He would definitely not teach a spell that was beyond the ability of a young wizard of his grade. But if the young wizard found the content from the library himself, he would definitely help to give the correct correction. Of course, this was limited to Hermione. Because other first-year wizards would definitely not be able to find this spell. After all, these were 3 large books over 3 inches thick. Even if other young wizards borrowed these books, they would not read them carefully. Not to mention that they had to connect the knowledge points of a spell in them. After I found this spell, Percy bet me that I would never be able to learn it, but I didn't expect that after studying it for 3 days, there was no progress at all. While Hermione was still complaining about Percy, Moon was reading the explanation of the Iron Armor Curse in Magic Defense Theory. After this protective spell is successfully cast, an invisible shield will be formed in the direction pointed by the caster's wand, thus protecting specific people and areas. According to the explanation in the book, the difficulty of the Iron Armor Curse does not lie in the pronunciation of the spell and the wand-waving gesture. Compared with other spells, the pronunciation and wand-waving of the Iron Armor Curse are more complicated, but Moon is confident that he can still master it, and Hermione should be no exception. The real difficulty of this spell is the real manifestation and transformation of the power of the spell. It requires the wizard to create a magical defense shield that does not exist. This is very different from the spells that Moon has learned in the first grade. The second difficulty of the Iron Armor Curse requires the caster to be able to ensure the precise control of the magic power. After the Iron Armor Curse is cast, if the magic energy is too little, the shield may not be strong enough to effectively resist the attack. If the energy is too much, it may cause the shield to lose control, become unstable or even backfire. The third difficulty is that it is necessary to ensure the continuous and stable output of magic power. Ironclad Charm not only needs to form a shield in an instant, but also needs to maintain the existence of the shield continuously. This requires the wizard to be able to output magic energy steadily, maintain the strength and integrity of the shield, and resist continuous attacks or multiple attacks. This is a huge test for the wizard's magic energy reserve and control ability. No wonder Percy said this spell is difficult. After reading all the content, Moon had to admit that the prefect's evaluation of Ironclad Charm was correct. Percy? What are you talking about him so early in the morning? When Moon just finished sighing about Percy, Harry and Ron had already packed up and were ready to go to breakfast. Seeing that Moon and Hermione were still reading, they walked over curiously. Percy said, Ironclad Charm is difficult, Moon responded. Ironclad Charm, Dad once talked about this spell at home, saying that except for the Aurors, many staff members of the Ministry of Magic may not know it. Ron's father worked in the Ministry of Magic for a long time. If this wizard also said so, it means that this spell is indeed difficult. But no matter how difficult it is, Moon will find a way to learn it. After memorizing the spells and the cane-waving gestures of the Iron Armor spell, Moon and his companions walked out of the lounge and headed for the auditorium. By the way, Hermione, have you read any books about papermaking and printing? As they walked down the ever-changing multi-story staircase, Moon thought of Mimir's collection of poems, Anvil songs. Although Moon could also use the copying spell to help, it was far from being able to preserve the collection of poems forever. But if the advanced papermaking and printing technology of the Muggles in this world were mastered, it would not only solve this problem, but perhaps also find a way for the people of Veteran Alley to survive. Papermaking and printing? I only know a little about their history, and I don't really know how to do it, but what do you want this for? Oh, I want my family to try and see if they can make it. Do you want to make paper too? Is your family in Africa? Hermione couldn't help but ponder. Ever since Moon refuted that he was not the child of a wanderer last time, Hermione found that there were many suspicious points about her classmate, and it seemed that she could never finish digging. Africa? I know there's a Ugardo school of magic there, yes, and people there don't seem to use wands, yes. Bill wrote to me saying that people there have mastered all kinds of strange magic gestures. Moon was very grateful to Ron, who always managed to change the subject at the right time. Chapter 138 The Essence of Alchemy. Hermione is really a little too smart. Moon thinks that in the future, he should try to find Hermione less for such things. But Moon knows very few people in the Muggle world, and he can't leave school at all now, which makes him a little worried. Who should I find? Moon recalled all the muggles he knew. Then the image of a fat uncle working in a zoo suddenly jumped into his mind. Maybe I can ask Uncle Gaia during the holidays, and I can visit him at the same time. Moon decided that he must find someone in the muggle world who can help with chores. Especially now that he may have awakened the ability to carry items back to the Scarlet Moon, he needs such a person even more. You haven't told me yet, where's your home? Hermione, who was sitting on the bench in the auditorium, kept asking. By the way, do you know alchemy? Moon did not respond to the curious little witch, but quickly changed the subject. Alchemy? This is much more difficult than the armor charm you just saw. Ron was eating a bowl of fragrant Hagrid's pancakes. After hearing about alchemy, he put down his spoon and looked over. As the most knowledgeable wizard in the dormitory, Ron was very happy to answer questions that other students didn't know, which could satisfy his strange vanity. Do you know why this course is only elective in the 6th grade? It's because it's difficult enough, and most students won't take it. Moon now found that in order to successfully divert Hermione's topic, only Ron was enough. But in order to ensure that the topic could continue, Moon had to continue chatting with Ron. I remember that the alchemy professor of the school seems to be from the Ollivander family. Yes, Dylan Ollivander. I think in the British wizarding world, only their family still has some alchemy skills. After Ron finished speaking, he was about to take another bite of the pancake, but he suddenly reacted and looked at Moon. Moon, maybe you are really suitable for learning alchemy. Haven't you made a wand? Does a wand count as alchemy? Moon asked curiously. It should count. After all, both of these things are difficult. Whenever it comes to specific magic problems, Ron's answers are always ambiguous. Hermione was originally very angry that Moon changed the subject, but after hearing Ron's explanation, she couldn't wait to correct him. Difficult is alchemy. What kind of logic is this, Ron, isn't it? These two things are difficult. After Ron finished speaking, he looked at Harry, Seamus, and Neville for help. The three little wizards nodded in response without thinking. No. After Hermione refuted several classmates speechlessly, she looked at Moon helplessly. A wand is just a magic tool. It is a tool used by magicians to guide and focus their own magic power, while alchemy focuses on creation and change. These are not the same difficulty at all. Creation and change. After hearing Hermione's explanation, Moon couldn't help but think about it. Moon had made the wand. After the creation of this magic tool, it did not create or change anything. Its main function is to enable wizards to more easily guide the magic power in their bodies. Yes, if we must say that the knowledge we have learned now is related to alchemy, it should be transfiguration, not wand making. Hermione's correct explanation quickly overturned Ron's previous speculation and inference. No wonder Dumbledore has such great achievements in alchemy. He used to be a professor of transfiguration. Ron looked at Harry deliberately when he spoke. When the two little wizards were riding on the Hogwarts Express, they got a Dumbledore card from the Chocolate Frog card. It clearly stated that Dumbledore was very effective in alchemy. I remember, I still keep this card. The explanation on the Chocolate Frog card confirmed Hermione's statement, but Moon was even more curious. Hermione, you didn't read the 6th grade textbooks? Alchemy is an elective course for the 6th grade, and Hermione knows so much about it, which makes Moon have to be suspicious. How is it possible? I just borrowed a lot of transfiguration books last week, and these contents are found in them. Last week, because Hermione wanted to understand the magic of color change of pottery figurines, she borrowed more than a dozen books on transfiguration from the library. Moon knew this very well. But I remember you didn't read color change. Yes, alchemy covers a very wide range, and color change magic is a small part of it. Hearing Hermione's words, Moon knew what to do next. He got an alchemy key on the pirate ship. Although he didn't bring this key to Hogwarts now, it didn't prevent him from dabbling in some alchemy knowledge. And now if you want to get this knowledge, the best way is naturally to go to the library like Hermione. The courses for the first-year Gryffindor wizards on Monday are very simple. There is a history of magic in the morning, a herb class in the afternoon, and then all the rest time. Of course, for Moon, he has one more content this month than others. Cleaning up the potion classroom. After Moon learned the cleansing spell, this confinement no longer required anyone's help. Although the range of Moon's cleansing spell was not very large, it did not take many spells to clean up a classroom. However, today's confinement would obviously be more unpredictable. When Moon was just halfway through cleaning up the classroom, Professor Snape came in a hurry. Professor? Are you okay? Professor Snape's face was originally very pale, but now with the contrast of the heavy dark circles under his eyes, he no longer looked like a normal person. No problem? How can I be okay? You'd better explain it yourself, Snape said and threw a scroll in his hand to Moon. Hearing Snape's voice, which was more severe than in the potion class, Moon curiously opened the scroll. Professor, have you analyzed a potion? After Moon saw the content drawn on the scroll clearly, he knew that this was the real secret of the potion. Professor, you really deserve to be called a potion master. It's only been 2 days, don't be so quick to praise me. You'd better finish reading it first. Hearing Snape's serious tone, Moon unfolded the entire scroll. Snape had already drawn the images of all the raw materials for the potion. There were 8 kinds in total. Moon saw the little white flower that he had analyzed among them. Swamp lily? It can hide the toxicity in the potion. After reading the description of the little white flower, Moon raised his head and looked at Snape suspiciously. Professor, is this a bottle of poison? Poison? Not really. I've read all the potion books in the library thousands of years ago. After you finish reading all the contents on the scroll, you should be able to make your own judgment. Well, okay. Thank you, Professor. Chapter 139, Angry Snape. Moon had thought that it would be very difficult to analyze this unknown potion. After all, this potion was not a product of this world. But a potion master had searched through the largest library in the magic world, including all the potion books from 1,000 years ago. This made Moon underestimate the difficulty of analyzing the potion. At the same time, Moon could understand why Professor Snape looked like a ghost. He didn't want to provoke Snape, who was obviously a little irritable at the moment. Moon carefully placed the entire scroll on the podium and slowly opened it, then carefully checked the contents inside. Snowberries, a rare material produced in snow-capped mountains above 5,000 meters above sea level, have excellent magical sedative effects. It can make wizards calm themselves and feel very enjoyable. It is an auxiliary potion material commonly used by Indian wizards when practicing yoga, but it has become extinct due to excessive collection. The blood of orcs has a very strong repairability and is one of the raw materials commonly used by ancient wizards for potions. But orcs are extinct in the modern magic world. Swamp lily can conceal the poison of potions, is a very good material for detoxification. There is only one plant in the magic world. Howling moss can stimulate the explosive power of magicians, but will wear away rationality, and is poisonous. Most of them grow in ancient wizard tombs over 1,000 years old, and are very difficult to collect and not easy to preserve in the outside world. Unknown explosive material, unknown efficacy. It is speculated that it is to stimulate the potential of people who use potions, or to control people who take drugs. The text on the scroll ends here, followed by 3 question marks. Professor, what does this question mark mean? Snape wrote 3 question marks on the scroll with red ink, and the strokes were very heavy. Question mark? Of course it can't be found. Do you know what it means to not be found in the Hogwarts library? Snape's voice was close to a roar. I don't know. Moon shook his head blankly and answered. Well, I know. Why would the little stupid lion care about these? Professor Snape said, and began to pace back and forth anxiously throughout the classroom. If it can't be found, it means it's still an unknown magic material. No. Since someone can make it into a potion, it means it's known, but it's just newly discovered. Yes. It must be like this. Otherwise there must be detailed records in the Hogwarts library. Snape paced back and forth for several circles, and his speech speed became faster and faster. Finally, he came to Moon again, bent down and looked at him seriously. Tell me, how did you get this potion? Professor, I picked it up in Diagon Alley. Seeing Snape's eyes that wanted to bite people, Moon stammered and answered. Diagon Alley? There is an unknown explosive in the potion. Did you go to Nocturne Alley? No. Okay. I don't care why you little stupid lions go to the Dark Wizard's territory. I just want to know which idiot made this potion. It wasted such a precious material. Moon could hear regret in Snape's tone, but it was not over yet. After roaring at Moon, Snape straightened up, quickly picked up the scroll with his left hand, and began to complain wildly again. This snowberry, the magic world has not found its trace for hundreds of years. As long as it is added with elf tears and dragon scale grass, it is an excellent magic potion for treating frostbite. And the swamp lily, I only know one plant, add it with unicorn horn powder and moonstone. This is a perfect and powerful antidote. Roaring moss, this thing can only be found in the pyramids in Egypt, but most of them are monopolized by goblins. It is very difficult for wizards to obtain it. The most difficult thing is that it is difficult to preserve in the outside world. The most hateful thing is the blood of the orcs. This is dregs. This is dregs. This is dregs. Its existence completely destroys this bottle of magic potion, and it is a waste of the above 3 precious herbs? No. It's not a waste. It's blasphemy. It's defilement. Snape's roar resounded throughout the classroom, including the corridor outside. Fortunately, most of the students had left at this time, otherwise it would definitely attract many people to come and watch. Moon rubbed his buzzing ears and looked at Snape. Professor, calm down. I don't know which idiot made this potion. Moon was very sure that if anyone dared to admit to his face that he made this potion, Snape would definitely give him a super version of cleaning up and make this person disappear from the magic world completely. You? Of course, you can't know that so many precious materials must be made by idiots from ancient families with reputation and strength. Otherwise, who can come up with these good things? Seeing that Snape found a reasonable explanation himself, Moon breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that he would be affected by the person who made this potion. After all, Snape's appearance just now was simply too scary. Professor, I think your guess is very accurate. Since you know all this, can you return the potion to me? Potion? No. There are 3 more materials in it that I haven't analyzed. I must do further research, Snape said as he put the potion back into his pocket and looked at Moon again. Although this potion can stimulate the explosive power of the drinker, it is very toxic. You'd better not touch it too much. I know, Professor. Since you said it is poisonous, I won't drink it, but can you? No, I said. I have to continue researching. Seeing that Snape really did not plan to return it, Moon could only sigh helplessly. Fortunately, Moon only took half a bottle of this potion with him, and the remaining half was still on the Scarlet Moon. Okay, Professor, since you want to stay, it's okay, but can you make things harder for us in class in the future? After confirming that the potion could not be taken back for the time being, Moon thought about whether he could gain more benefits for himself, so he directly stated the conditions. Make things harder. Snape looked at Moon thoughtfully. Yes, especially Harry. The unfair treatment in the potion class has now made most of the little lions in Gryffindor feel resistant to this class. The one who was most affected was naturally Harry. Harry Potter. How can that be considered making things harder? Snape's tone showed signs of turning to irritability again. You have no idea how extraordinary his mother's achievements in potions are. How could he not inherit them? But, no buts, I do this for his own good. He shouldn't just learn those tricks and sabotage skills and give up those good qualities. Moon didn't know why Snape had such a deep prejudice against Harry. In his opinion, Harry just liked playing Quidditch at most. Okay, Professor, if it doesn't work, then forget it. Until Moon stopped pestering him, Snape packed up the scroll and was about to leave. But Moon stopped him again. Professor, can you give me a copy of that scroll? Snape stood still after hearing this. No words, no waving of the cane. An identical scroll appeared in Moon's hand. Starting tomorrow, the number of chapters will be reduced, but the number of words will not be reduced. 10,000 words will be updated every day. Please subscribe. The schedule is tentatively as follows. 7:30 a.m., 1 chapter 12 p.m., 1 chapter 5 p.m., 1 chapter. Chapter 140 How can a top student have friends? Before leaving, Professor Snape showed off his enviable silent and wandless spellcasting. This excellent spellcasting ability is also the goal that Moon has always wanted to pursue. Although Moon can only successfully cast cleansing spell, repairing spell, floating spell, and leg-locking spell with silent spells. But the success of these 4 spells also let Moon know that his method of practicing spells is not wrong. Spending a lot of time in practicing a spell diligently can help you understand it more deeply, and then the corresponding spellcasting speed will inevitably continue to increase. Until you can gradually complete silent spells, wandless spells, and silent and wandless spells. After this experience summary, Moon practiced all the previous spells in addition to learning Iron Armor spell in the spell practice classroom. This forced Moon to master more spells in a shorter practice time, which invisibly improved his spell casting speed. After dinner on Monday, when Moon came to the Herb Club, he saw Cedric with a sad face. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with the water lily fungus? Yes, this little guy seems to like dragon manure very much. They are growing too fast now, Cedric said, pointing to the 3 extra large flower pots on the shelf. It's only been 3 days, and they have grown so much? I don't know what to do with them, seeing that the water lily fungus has tripled in such a short time. To be honest, Moon is still a little envious. He used dragon manure to grow crops, and most of the crops were burned to death, which forced him to find a new way. Cedric's distress is just the opposite. The little living hell decoction he wants to refine originally needs a long time to prepare. And during this time, the sleepy fungus will definitely continue to grow wildly without limit, which makes him have to worry. You know, they are very toxic. If they really can't be controlled, I'm worried that they will cause some accidents. Moon has already learned about the toxicity of water lily fungus. Last week, after Snape walked into the potion classroom, he just smelled a little of Cedric's purified spore powder, and he had to drink a whole bottle of antidote. Afterwards, the professor was still a little scared and drove Cedric away. I think Professor Sprout will definitely have a way. After all, she is an expert in this area. Moon also knew that these spore powders must be taken care of, but it should be the best way to leave such toxic things to professionals. That's the only way. By the way, how is your preparation of the little living hell decoction? Cedric wanted to make this potion. In addition to learning the complicated refining techniques, he also had to prepare expensive magic materials by himself. It's a bit difficult. Although my family supported part of it, I still need to get all the materials together, Cedric said with an embarrassed expression. Although his father only had him as a child, he also worked in the Ministry of Magic and had a good income. It was not difficult for him to prepare a set of potion ingredients. But what Cedric wanted to do was not to successfully refine the potion. Instead, he wanted to improve the potion. In this case, a set of potion ingredients might not be enough. After all, no one can guarantee that the little living hell decoction can be successfully refined in one go. I know a cheap material that may be able to replace the tranquilizing grass powder in this decoction. Moon knew that Cedric was a very strong little wizard, so he did not ask for money, but mentioned a potion material. Although tranquilizing grass is not expensive, it takes a lot of its powder to make the living hell decoction, so it is not cheap. Are you sure? Cedric asked curiously. Of course, and I brought some today, Moon said and took out a batfish more powder he had prepared on the Scarlet Moon. Moon has already experimented with this potion material. In the potion for treating cuts, it can perfectly replace tranquilizing grass. Of course, for Moon, being able to replace tranquilizing grass is not the most important thing. Batfish is very easy to obtain in another world, and it is also very cheap. This is very important. Sailors and coastal residents near the Vina Islands often eat this fish, but the fish meal is all discarded. Especially now that Moon has his own ship, it is more convenient for him to salvage this fish. What is this material? It smells fishy. Are you sure it's okay? Of course I've used it to make other potions. Hearing that other potions had been successfully made, Cedric nodded happily. To be honest, I really don't know how to thank you. If I can get Mr. Newt's moonlight grass and make a potion, I'd like to share it with you. After Cedric finished speaking, he was a little unsure whether he could win the herbal medicine competition, and then added, of course, if you have anything else, I'm also very happy to help. Hearing Cedric say this, Moon laughed. He just happened to have something, and it would be very appropriate for Cedric to help. If you can help me practice the Iron Armor Charm, then I will provide this powder for free. Iron Armor Charm? Isn't this a spell that only 5th graders can learn? Cedric was very familiar with this spell. Although he was only in the 3rd grade, his father had already taught him this spell in advance. And after more than a year of practice, Cedric can now successfully cast this spell. Although the magic defense range formed after his successful casting is only a small area, this also made Cedric happy for a long time. It is true that it is a 5th grade spell, but I have a friend who is a top student. She can always find all kinds of super level magic knowledge in the library. Will a top student have friends? Especially with another top student, Cedric's focus is not on how Moon obtained the Iron Armor spell. In his opinion, top student friends are more worthy of attention. Because in Cedric's past experience, those top students who like to stay in the library all year round mostly like to go alone. Most of these people think that the road to learning magic is lonely, and interacting with others will affect their learning of magic. For example, Percy from Gryffindor and Penelope Clearwater from Ravenclaw. And Moon, in fact, in Cedric's opinion, is also very much like a primary school top student. It's just that Moon doesn't run to the library that often. It's a bit difficult for Cedric to understand that two top students become good friends. Moon didn't care about Cedric's complaints. Anyway, he could understand that having a good friend was enough. At 7 o'clock in the evening, Professor Sprout came to the Herb Club on time. After the senior students had consulted their questions, Moon and Cedric came up with a pot of sleepy fungus. Oh. Wait a minute, I'll put on a thick mask first. After Professor Sprout and the senior students around him had taken protective measures, the sleepy fungus was allowed to be placed on the podium. You want me to help deal with these spores? Yes, Professor, their toxicity is getting stronger and stronger. Although it is not fatal, it is also harmful, but I have no way for the time being. As soon as Sprout finished speaking, Moon reminded him in time. Professor, don't you have a plant that needs to grow potions? Does it need it? Starting tomorrow, the number of chapters will be reduced, but the number of words will not be reduced. 10,000 words updated every day. Please subscribe. The schedule is tentatively as follows. 7:30 a.m., 1 chapter, 12 p.m., 1 chapter, 5 p.m., 1 chapter. Chapter 141 Sprout Stouts. Professor Sprout had borrowed a growth potion from Moon 2 weeks ago. At that time, she just said that she wanted to use it on a Christmas cactus, but Moon knew that the real reason was definitely not that. Since joining the Herbal Club for more than a month, Moon's knowledge of magical plants has increased a lot. He has also heard from seniors that the Devil's Snare and the Christmas cactus look very similar. And the ordinary Christmas cactus cannot absorb the efficacy of the growth potion at all, so the plant that really needs this potion is most likely the Devil's Snare. And Sprout borrowed the potion after Moon defeated the troll. It was also that night that Moon heard the conversation between Professor Snape and Headmaster Dumbledore. Although there were only a few words, Moon knew that the two were talking about strengthening the protection of a certain item. And the Devil's Snare happened to be used by wizards in the magic world to protect important places and items. After connecting all these things, Moon had already guessed a rough idea. Mr. Scarlett, I knew that such an excuse could not be hidden from you. When Moon mentioned the plant that needed the growth potion, Sprout was obviously surprised. But she immediately thought of Moon's experience of defeating the troll that night, and she knew that the little wizard might have guessed the truth. Professor, I just experienced a little more than others, so I can guess these. Don't be modest, Mr. Scully. I think you are the only students who can guess this, but remember, you must keep it secret. I will. Wait, Professor, what are you talking about? Aren't you talking about the spores of the sleepy face fungus? After Cedric moved the sleepy face fungus to the podium, he had been listening to Sprout and Moon's charades. Until the two said they wanted to keep it secret, he didn't understand what was going on. Diggory, this matter is confidential to students for the time being, but I may try to deal with your sleepy face fungus. After Sprout finished speaking to Cedric, he turned to look at Moon. But this matter must be approved by Headmaster Dumbledore. After all, those protections are all arranged by him. Okay, Moon originally thought that strengthening the protection of the Devil's Snare only required Professor Sprout's approval, but now it seems that this matter is not so simple. Cedric, who was standing by, was getting more and more confused, especially now that Dumbledore was involved. Professor, I now feel that you are more like Moon's dean than mine. Hearing Cedric's somewhat sour remarks, Sprout made an innocent gesture. In fact, I always thought that the Sorting Hat made a mistake. Moon should belong to Hufflepuff, right? I think so too. Moon just smiled and said nothing about the teasing of Professor Sprout and Cedric. The Sorting Hat actually gave Moon an option of Hufflepuff at that time, but Moon did not choose it at that time. After Cedric moved the sleepy face fungus away, Moon asked about his plant research. Do you think the calories in dragon manure are too high, and want to use this conch creature instead? What Moon took out was naturally the flame conch. Ever since this large conch was salvaged, Moon has been considering whether it can serve as the main ingredient of the new dragon manure fertilizer. Yes, this is a shellfish in the sea. It reproduces very quickly, and its shell has some properties of dragon scales. Dragon scales. After hearing what Moon said, Professor Sprout habitually put on dragon leather gloves, and then picked up the huge conch that she could only hold with both hands. The shell is indeed very strong, as if it has been tempered. Are there any such creatures in the sea? After Professor Sprout picked up the huge conch, she carefully checked it back and forth. There should be. This was caught by sailors from my hometown near the underwater volcano. Oh, no wonder, there are usually few wizards in the deep sea, and there may be strange marine magical creatures somewhere. Professor Sprout's words reminded Moon. As far as Moon knows now, the area of the ocean in both worlds is much larger than that of the land. And Wizard's research on magic is mostly conducted on various creatures on land, but rarely in the sea. Professor, there should be many kinds of creatures in the ocean, right? Why do we learn so little about them? In Moon's opinion, he now has a ship and will live on an island for a long time. If he can learn how to deal with the magical materials of marine life in Hogwarts, he will be able to obtain more magical materials in the Vena Islands, thereby improving his own magical strength. The sea, that mysterious area, is indeed rarely explored by wizards. The main reason is that we are not used to activities in the sea, and there are few corresponding magics. In addition, I think things on land are busy enough. Professor Sprout's point of view made Moon unable to refute, especially the last point. The workload of Hogwarts professors is relatively heavy in the entire British magic world. But Moon is completely different. In addition to being a little busy at Hogwarts, he has plenty of time on the Vena Islands. Considering all the current conditions, exploring the ocean is completely feasible for Moon. The only thing he needs to do is to learn some magic that allows Moon to move in the sea. Of course, this may not be possible in the short term. After all, for any magician, ocean exploration is a completely new field. After putting this idea into the plan for future implementation, Moon looked at the flame snail in Sprout's hand. Professor, do you think this conch meat can be used to make dragon manure fertilizer? It should be possible. I chose dragon manure at the beginning. In addition to finding that this thing is very beneficial for plant absorption, I also saw that it contains a lot of magical energy. But dragon manure also has a fatal disadvantage. After Professor Sprout finished speaking, he walked to the side of the classroom and brought up a bucket of dragon manure fertilizer. The magic energy contained in it has a very high temperature. It can create a warm and comfortable growth environment for plants, but long-term use will inevitably produce the opposite result due to high temperature. Professor Sprout picked up the flame snail again after receiving it. And if this large conch lives in the crater of the seabed, it is far more suitable than dragon manure. Of course, this requires me to study it again. Seeing that Professor Sprout was willing to try research, Moon readily agreed to provide this large conch for free. In Moon's opinion, Sprout's research is far more beneficial than harmful to him. As a professor of herbology at Hogwarts and a master of herbology in the British and even European magic world, if Sprout's research succeeds, more magicians will definitely know about it. As for the raw materials for making this new version of fertilizer, it is now known that only Moon can come up with it. This will provide Moon with a stable income in the British magic world. In addition, if the new version of fertilizer is successful, Moon can also try to use it on crops. This may solve the problem of food shortage that Moon has been worried about. Chapter 142 Dumbledore's Alchemical Achievements. After Professor Sprout took over the task of researching the new fertilizer, Moon felt much more relaxed. He also had more time to do other magic research. This time when Moon came from the Scarlet Moon, he brought a small bag of backfish more powder and 3 large conches. He gave the largest one, the flame conch, to Professor Sprout, asking her to use it to research the new fertilizer. As for the other 2, they were temporarily placed in the dormitory, hidden in a suitcase under the bed. Moon originally thought that he had hidden it secretly enough, but he forgot that he had a pet who was good at finding things. When Moon left the club and returned to the dormitory, he saw a strange scene. A large conch appeared on the dormitory floor. And next to the large conch lay a sniff-in-a-toad. What are you doing? Seeing these 2 pets staring at the conch with a covetous look, Moon knew that something bad might happen. Chee, it smells so good, goo, hard. Bengbeng's focus is always more peculiar than other pets, and his expression is more accurate. Do you want to eat it? Chee, yes. Seeing Bengbeng jumping on the ground anxiously, Moon did not say much, and directly took out his wand and cast the softening spell on the shell of the flame snail 3 times. After Moon took back the wand, Bengbeng quickly ran over and stretched out his little claws, and easily took out the seafood feast from the shell. Chee, cut. Moon used the rope-cutting spell to easily split the snail meat in half. After the 2 little pets got the food, they both ate it in big mouthfuls. Because the flame snail is relatively large, the 2 pets did not finish it in the end. Moon had to cast a fresh lock, and stuffed the snail meat back into the shell. After Leifu finished eating, he returned to the iron box to sleep, while Bengbeng kept chatting with Moon after dinner. Chee, delicious, I'm glad you like it. If you can really come to my house, there will be a lot of this kind of things. Chee, really? Of course, and there will be a little girl to play with you." Hearing that there is a playmate, Bengbeng's eyes lit up, and then he quickly ran back to his cabin to look for something. After a while, he ran out with a magic wand toy. "Chi-Chi, this is for her." Seeing Bengbeng took out the gift he gave it before school started, Moon nodded and smiled. "I think she should like it. At Hogwarts, life is fulfilling every day, and Moon can learn new magic knowledge every day." On Tuesday morning, Moon was curious and started to study the origin of alchemy borrowed from the library. After visiting the library yesterday, Moon found that there were not many books about alchemy in the public library area of the library. And the only books open to lower grade students are alchemy enlightenment books and some alchemy journals. After registering with Madame Pants, Moon borrowed all the alchemy-related materials that could be borrowed. From the surprised look of the librarian, Moon could roughly guess that there should not be many junior students studying alchemy. The origin of alchemy records that this complex magic originated from ancient Egypt. It coincides with the time when the earliest magic records appeared. The book analyzes that the reason for the formation of alchemy is that when ancient wizards explored the mysteries of life, death and soul, they discovered that certain substances could undergo wonderful changes under the action of magic, and then launched various research. No wonder these explanations are familiar. It turns out that potion refining belonged to the category of alchemy in ancient times. Among the magic that Moon can access now, the most similar to alchemy should be potion refining. In this book, it is recorded in detail that ancient wizards did not separate potions and alchemy. It was not until later that potion refining paid more attention to natural materials, such as herbs, plants, animal organs, etc., while alchemy used more metals and minerals. After the wizards who studied these two kinds of magic had differences, potion refining was separated from alchemy. Of course, the development paths of these two kinds of magic after separation are also different. Potions now focus more on meeting the various needs of wizards in the real world. Alchemy, on the other hand, focuses more on changing the essence of matter and improving the spiritual level of wizards. It seems that potions are developing faster than alchemy, and there is a reason for that. In Moon's view, magicians invent all kinds of things just to meet the needs of reality. And alchemy is obviously somewhat disconnected from the lives of modern wizards. Of course, in addition to the demand, alchemy itself is difficult, which also determines that its development is far less convenient and fast than potions. Alchemy not only has very high requirements for materials, but also these materials are very difficult to handle after they are obtained. In order to perfectly handle these rare mineral materials, you must master a lot of basic transformation techniques. Of course, the most important point is that the time span of alchemy is very long, and the minimum is in years. So some powerful alchemists are some old wizards. After roughly browsing the origin of alchemy, Moon flipped through alchemy journals. Most of these newspapers come from Egypt, because there is the largest alchemy research center in the magic world. Moreover, various international alchemy competitions are often held in Cairo. Therefore, Egypt is the source of first-hand information about alchemy in the magic world. Moon could not understand many of the terms recorded in these journals. However, he was more interested in the people who had researched new things through alchemy in the journals. Moon found a familiar name among these people. Albus Dumbledore. This wizard, who is recognized as the greatest wizard of the contemporary era, won the gold medal for pioneering contributions at the Cairo International Alchemy Conference at the age of 17. The principle is really amazing. After having a basic understanding of alchemy, Moon could understand how difficult it was to get this award. In the most difficult research field in the magic world, he won the highest gold medal, and he was still 17 years old. In particular, Moon knew that Hogwarts only started teaching alchemy in the 6th grade. This shows that the principal himself may not have studied alchemy for a long time. All these are enough to prove that Dumbledore is very talented in alchemy. No wonder Hermione said transfiguration is the foundation of alchemy. Ron once told Moon that Dumbledore was the transfiguration professor at Hogwarts before he became the headmaster. Now it seems that there is a reason for this. While Moon was sitting in the common room studying alchemy materials, the members of the Gryffindor Quidditch team came out one after another. Harry packed up all his equipment and the precious flying broom and sat on the sofa waiting for others. If I had your enthusiasm for getting up early to study, I might have won the championship this year. This Saturday is the first game of Gryffindor's College Cup this year. Because they have not won the championship for 4 consecutive years, everyone in the team is under great pressure. Wood is also constantly trying to get time to practice on the court for this. I think you can do it. After all, you fly very well." Moon never hesitates to praise his friends, especially Harry, who is really talented in flying. Moon judged Harry's flying talent not only based on his performance on the court. The most important thing is that every time Harry finishes Quidditch training, his wizard bar will show a significant increase when he comes back. Now the length of the wizard bar above Harry's head has reached 3/4 grid, which has caught up with the second echelon of the first-year wizards. That is Malfoy, Susan Burns and others. Of course, this echelon has now become the third echelon, because there are two people in front of them who are obviously far away. One is Hermione, whose wizard bar is about to be full. The other is Moon Scarlett, who already has 1.5 grids. Moon's wizard bar grew rapidly this time after he mastered silent spells. Although Moon experienced a life and death test, he also gained a lot. Of course, now that Moon's wizard bar has changed, his pursuit target is no longer on the first-year students. Even the second-year seniors are the same. Most of their wizard bars are also full of 1 grid. The longest one is about the same as Moon, so Moon set his sights on the third-year wizards. Among the third-year students, Moon has the most contact with twins. The wizard bars of these two red-haired wheel-eyes are actually similar to Moon's. On the other hand, Cedric, another third-year student, had already reached 3/4 of the second grid on his wizard bar. Moon's next goal was to catch up with Cedric. Moon had carefully observed the length of the wizard bars of most students in the school in the auditorium. He found that in the third and fifth years, the young wizards would pull away from each other. The third-year wizards with longer bars had almost completed the second grid, but there were also many wizards who had not completed 1 grid. The fifth year was the same, but the span was larger at this time. The best had completed 3 grids, but the shortest had only 1 grid. Hermione had told Moon that third-year students would face elective courses and be exposed to more magical knowledge. The fifth-year students would face OWL's exams, which forced students to systematically review and strengthen the magical knowledge they had already mastered. Moon felt that this should also be the key factor in the young wizards pulling away from each other. In the herbal class on Tuesday, Professor Spratt introduced a new herbal plant, rosemary. This is a common herb plant with slender gray-green leaves and purple flowers with a very strong fragrance. Students, rosemary is an important material for making refreshing potions. It can also be used to make some magic potions that enhance memory and concentration. If you don't mind, you can smell it more. After Professor Sprout finished speaking, most of the young wizards sniffed the flowers in front of them. The one who worked the hardest was Neville. Because he sniffed hard. The young wizard inhaled a lot of pollen and then began to sneeze non-stop. Hermione was obviously also very concerned about the ability to enhance memory. After the herbology class, she picked a rosemary flower that was in full bloom with the permission of Professor Sprout. When Moon was about to leave the greenhouse, he was stopped by Professor Sprout. Mr. Scarlett, Headmaster Dumbledore has agreed to let me strengthen the protection of, that plant again. Sprout smiled as she spoke. She originally thought that Dumbledore would not agree. After all, when she made this suggestion yesterday, the greatest headmaster pondered for a long time. Great, so we don't have to worry about what to do with the extra sleepy face fungi. Moon was also very happy. Yes, these little things that make people sleepy really can't be thrown away casually. It should be best to put them in a place where students can't touch them. Moon agreed with Professor Sprout's point of view. In his opinion, a small amount of sleepy face fungi is still within the controllable range, and it can also help to make potions. But once these little things start to grow wildly, it will definitely be very easy to cause some accidents. Professor, do you need me to help you move the sleepy face fungi over? Oh, I can do it myself. Principal Dumbledore has instructed that it is best not to let the students know. Okay, Moon had no intention of exploring the secrets that the principal wanted to protect. In his opinion, this mysterious principal was completely different from other wizards. Dumbledore gave Moon the feeling that he could see through everything. This made Moon, who had a huge secret, very uncomfortable. However, when Professor Sprout mentioned Dumbledore's name, Moon remembered the alchemy news he saw in the common room this morning. Professor, has Headmaster Dumbledore achieved great success in alchemy? I saw that he won the gold medal in this area. Oh, about this matter, in fact, you don't have to doubt it at all. Being able to make friends with the alchemist Nicholas Flamel is enough to show Dumbledore's achievements in alchemy. Nicholas Flamel. Moon learned the name of another alchemist master. If the headmaster focuses on the field of alchemy, He may be able to achieve the same achievements as Nicholas Flamel, but he is also the best headmaster in Hogwarts. Moon has long known that Dumbledore is very famous in the wizarding world, but this title of the best headmaster is the first time he has heard of it. After leaving the herb greenhouse, Moon saw Hermione waiting in front before he turned around. "What were you talking about strengthening protection just now?" Seeing Moon appear, Hermione immediately stepped forward and asked. "How did you know?" Moon showed a suspicious look. "Oh, I just wanted to go back and ask Professor Sprout if I could keep Rosemary in the dormitory, and then I heard your conversation." "Well, then you should have heard it too. Dumbledore said that students are not allowed to know." Hearing that Hermione had accidentally seen it, Moon responded indifferently. "But aren't you a student too?" Hermione was very curious, which Moon had known for a long time. But today he saw another amazing ability of this little witch. After Hermione made a rigorous deduction of what had happened, she quickly guessed everything Moon knew. From the conversation about strengthening protection she heard today, to Dumbledore's warning at the opening dinner, to the three-headed dog she encountered when wandering around the castle at night, and when Harry went to ask for books, he met the injured Snape. After summarizing all these things, Hermione deduced that the headmaster and professors of Hogwarts were guarding a mysterious thing. Coming to the long table of Gryffindor in the hall, Moon had forgotten to eat while listening to Hermione's analysis. He found that the little witch's speculations seemed very reasonable, and there were even some things that Moon himself didn't know. "You can tell from your expression that I have deduced more than you know." After Hermione finished speaking, she showed a proud little expression. Moon didn't know why this little witch had such a strong desire to win. However, in order to prevent the other party from being too happy, Moon pretended to eat normally. Hermione's speculation was just a small episode in life. For Moon, the most important thing is of course to learn magic. When the afternoon spell class ended, Moon found Professor Flitwick and asked him about the iron armor curse problem he encountered in the past 2 days. "I wish you all a happy New Year's Day. May all your wishes come true." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143, Variations of the Armor Spell. Moon has been studying the iron armor spell for 2 days. During this period, he tried hundreds of times before he finally successfully cast the spell in the spell practice classroom yesterday afternoon. However, the effect of this spell only lasted for 3 seconds, and the defensive range it produced was only the size of a palm. Later, no matter how Moon practiced, the spell never broke through the 5-second validity period. "Wait? Are you saying that you cast the iron armor spell? How is that possible?" Professor Flitwick, who was about to leave the classroom, turned around and looked up in surprise after hearing Moon's question. Yes, Professor, is there any problem?" Seeing Moon's innocent expression, Professor Flitwick walked back to the textbook on the podium. After ensuring that his sight was higher than Moon's height, Flitwick said solemnly again, "If you don't mind, Mr. Scarlett, please cast your iron armor spell." Seeing Professor Flitwick's serious expression, Moon took out his wand and chanted the spell without any hesitation. Armor protection. When the spell was finished, Moon's eyes could not see any magical effects. But he could feel that there was a palm-sized magical protection area at the tip of the wand. It actually worked. Moon didn't know how Professor Flitwick judged it. He just noticed that when he finished chanting the spell, Professor Flitwick's eyes were obviously bigger. "It's amazing, Mr. Scarlett. Do you know why this spell is not taught to lower grade students?" Professor Flitwick said as he adjusted his glasses. When he noticed that Moon had succeeded, he added another sentence. "Oh, of course, except you, Professor. The school's curriculum should be arranged according to the difficulty level. The Iron Shield charm is only learned in the 5th grade, which should be to allow students to lay a good foundation for magic." "Yes, you are right. The learning difficulty of the Iron Shield charm is indeed very high. It requires the caster to maintain extremely high concentration and precise control of magic, but you know, young wizards often lack these two abilities, concentration and precise control of magic. These two abilities are indeed almost non-existent in 1st grade young wizards. Because they had just entered Hogwarts, the first thing the young wizards felt was the vastness and novelty of the magic world, which inevitably made them feel a little impetuous. the corresponding concentration naturally would not be very high. And the precise control of magic requires a long period of practice. It can be said that in the first 3 years of Hogwarts, the young wizards cultivated this ability in subtle learning every day. But Moon was completely different. In fact, his cultivation of concentration had been trained invisibly as early as when Xilin was the caretaker of the hazelnut forest on the farm. At that time, Moon spent a lot of time every day concentrating on practicing wood carving. Later, when making magic wands, Moon's concentration was strengthened again. And the ability to accurately control magic, this is something Moon has only started to practice recently. This is thanks to the magic perception training proposed by Professor Snape. Of course, in addition to these two abilities that the young wizards do not have, Iron Armor spell is also very easy to rebound if it is not cast properly. Seeing that Moon could understand, Professor Flitwick continued to explain. Because the armor charm requires extremely strong magical power, the magical energy it possesses after it is cast is also very strong. Once it fails, the caster will be hit by this huge energy. In addition to causing serious external injuries to the caster, the internal organs will also be affected. After listening to Professor Flitwick's explanation, Moon now feels very fortunate. Although it took him a long time to learn this spell, there was no magic rebound. I have to say, Mr. Scarlett, you are really lucky. The armor charm is cast by a first-year student. This is the first time in my life that I have seen it. Professor, stop talking. I just now feel that I am a little reckless. How could it be? This is the true spirit of Gryffindor, Professor Flitwick said and laughed happily. By the way, Mr. Scarlett, don't you really plan to practice wizard duels? Hearing that Professor Flitwick started to pull him to learn new things again, Moon shook his head directly. Professor, I have such a hard time even casting an armor charm. Now, let's wait a few years for wizard duels. Yes, if you have such ideas after your 3rd year, remember to come to me. Flitwick now feels that Moon is a good material for a wizard duel. It's just that Moon is a little young, which makes Flitwick feel a little sorry, but also full of expectations for Moon's future. By the way, what's your question? Hearing that Professor Flitwick finally turned to the main topic, Moon hurriedly asked. Professor, do you think there is any problem with the armor charm I just cast? And how can it quickly form a real protective power? Oh, this spell can't be done quickly. It must be practiced for a long time. As for your method just now, Professor Flitwick closed his eyes and pinched his chin with his right hand to think. Your technique is actually very perfect. The only thing to note is that you can't pursue fast casting of spells now, but you have to be slow and steady. After all, the characteristics of this spell determine that it is not the faster the better. After hearing Professor Flitwick's explanation, Moon figured it out instantly. Because he had experienced a death crisis on the ship, Moon had high hopes for the Iron Armor spell. This also caused him to unconsciously speed up his hand speed when practicing this spell. So that's how it is. By the way, Professor, I saw in the book that medieval wizards used this spell to resist muskets. Is this true? Moon had learned related content in the history of magic class. From the end of the 15th century to the beginning of the 18th century, the church, government and ordinary people in Europe launched a massive witch hunt. At that time, the musket technology of Muggles was also developing rapidly. In the 16th century, flintlock rifles had already appeared and began to become the mainstream weapon on the Muggle battlefield. And wizards also began to gradually face up to the new weapons of Muggles from this time. From the initial indifferent attitude towards the witch hunt, to later trying to hide. Mr. Scarlett, I have to say that you have discovered a secret of the wizarding world, Professor Flitwick said, pacing on the podium with his hands behind his back. The International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy was actually born after the continuous development of Muggle firearms technology. As for whether the armor charm you mentioned can stop Muggle firearms, in fact, there were wizards discussing it at that time, and even experimenting with it themselves. Professor Flitwick continued to narrate this secret history, and Moon listened very carefully. At the beginning, Muggles only had something called a matchlock gun, and later, they made all kinds of more powerful firearms, and wizards had to hide more tightly. If you want to resist the current Muggle firearms, the ordinary armor charm may not be enough, and it requires a variant. About what is a variant of a spell? Professor Flitwick explained that it was equivalent to the hand-warming spell that Moon had created. This small spell was actually a variant of the fire spell. The variant of the armor spell had been tested a lot in wizard duels and wars and was very practical. There are many variants of the armor spell. Among them, the strong armor has the spell Protego Horribilis. Professor Flitwick said, took out his wand, and began to cast the armor spell variant in front of Moon. When the spell was finished, Moon could see a faint light that could protect his whole body in front of Professor Flitwick's wand tip. This was completely different from the effect of the original armor spell. In fact, as long as you can learn this spell, Muggle muskets can generally block it. Of course, it can also resist more powerful magic attacks. Maybe you can try to attack it. Moon actually wanted to test it after seeing that this armor spell was different from the one he cast. Now that Professor Flitwick agreed, Moon immediately raised his wand. Petrify all. When the Petrify spell hit the magic barrier in front of Professor Flitwick, a bright white light flashed. Very good. Before Professor Flitwick finished speaking, Moon's second Petrify spell had already hit him. Petrify all. Petrify all. Petrify all. Petrify spell is the most powerful spell Moon has mastered now, and he can cast 7 times in an instant. Oh, thank God, you're finally done. I thought you were going to cast 2 more. Seeing Moon put down his wand, Professor Flitwick withdrew the spell with some fear. He had just cast the Iron Armor spell, just to give Moon 1 or 2 tries, so he just cast this spell casually at the beginning. But he didn't expect Moon to attack with Petrify spell, one after another, which forced Flitwick to strengthen the spell in the middle. Oh, Professor, I'm very sorry, but this is all I can do. Moon just wanted to try out whether this powerful armor would really work, so he cast a few more petrification spells. Sorry? No, not at all. Your petrification spell is actually comparable to some formal duelists. Now you just lack a little protection, Professor Flitwick said excitedly as he walked to the side of the desk and looked at Moon's right hand that had just cast the spell. After 7 petrification spells, nothing happened. After observing Moon's right hand and wand, Flitwick raised his head and looked into Moon's eyes. Try the powerful armor spell I just cast. I'm really looking forward to how well you can practice this spell. Moon was surprised to hear Professor Flitwick say this. Although he was already able to cast the armor spell, the powerful armor just now actually changed a lot. Moon looked up at Professor Flitwick's expectant eyes, and then closed his eyes helplessly and began to recall Flitwick's complicated stick-swinging technique. A smooth start, turning from one side of the body to the other, forming a large arc in front of the body, and returning to the front. Moon closed his eyes tightly, but his hands had already begun to imitate Flitwick's entire set of movements just now. Over and over again. Flitwick, standing on the podium, watched Moon constantly optimizing and adjusting his gestures, and the surprise in his eyes became more and more intense. After adjusting 3 times, Moon felt that he could not find any mistakes, so he opened his eyes. Chanting a spell, swinging a stick, and protective fluorescence appeared. The technique is reproduced perfectly. Scarlett, before Professor Flitwick finished speaking, Moon's spell effect had dissipated. Oh, it's okay. This is already very good. I can't believe that a first-year wizard can cast this spell, and it's successful in one go, Professor. In fact, this is because you taught me well. Moon knew that he could master this powerful armor spell so quickly, and the one time Professor Flitwick just cast played a big role. Moon had practiced the armor spell himself, and he knew that if no one taught him, he would probably have to try dozens or hundreds of times. Don't be so modest, Mr. Scarlett. Your skills are actually very good. If you don't consider practicing duels now, are you interested in participating in another competition? There is another competition. Moon looked surprised. Yes, the Barnabas Finkley Excellent Spellcasting Skill Award, Professor Flitwick said a long string of words. Moon was slightly stunned. It was the first time he heard of this award. I can tell you that there are 2 professors in the school who have won the prize money of this award when they were students. Seeing Professor Flitwick's obvious pride, Moon knew that one of them must be the magic professor with goblin blood. Professor, one of them must be you, then who is the other one? Oh, thank you for the compliment. Professor Flitwick bowed his head like a gentleman, and then responded with a smile. The other one is our headmaster, Albus Dumbledore. Moon was not surprised to hear the headmaster's name. In his opinion, these 2 professors deserved the award. But Professor, my schedule is very full every day, and the competition may. Don't rush to refuse. Scarlett, of course I can understand. You have to practice spells in a small classroom every day. If not, I don't think you would have achieved such results today. Yes, Professor. Moon knew that he could easily cast the complex, strong shield charm, which was inseparable from his continuous practice every day. So if he had time, Moon would naturally not participate in any competition, but would rather practice spells. But this competition is during the summer vacation in July and August. I think you should have time by then. And the prize money is not low, 100 gold galleons. During the summer vacation, one game can earn 100 gold galleons, which is very tempting to Moon. Okay. Professor, I agree. After hearing the amount of gold galleons, Moon agreed without hesitation. In Moon's view, this money can not only cover all his school expenses next year, but also greatly improve his life. I knew you would agree. If there were no age limit for this competition, I think there would be many people who would sign up for this money. Professor Flitwick happily introduced Moon to the relevant information of the competition for a long time. It was not until the bell for Moon's second class in the afternoon rang that he was reluctant to let the little wizard leave. The little lion is very talented in spells. It seems that the contestants of Hogwarts will break the record of this competition again next year. Chapter 144, Rumors from the Ministry of Magic. The Gryffindor common room was very lively on Tuesday night. Because tonight was the time for Hermione and the others to make new clay figurines. This time, many people joined in the production of the hand warmers temporarily, making the whole process even more uncontrollable. However, these had little to do with Moon. He only needed to make the molds, and then light the hand-warming spell on each of the clay figurines after they came out of the oven. The whole process was very simple, just waving the wand. After helping Ron to light a rat clay figurine that finally grew a tail, Moon pulled this very knowledgeable partner and asked about the Barnabas Finkley Xilin spellcasting competition. Oh, how did you know about him? Ron was very surprised. He had already known that Moon was a muggle wizard. Only those who have lived in the wizarding world for many years would know about this not-so-famous competition. It was Professor Flitwick. He suggested that I participate in this spellcasting competition. Hearing that Moon planned to participate in the competition, the roommates and Hermione and the others gathered around curiously. Seeing more and more people coming to support the competition, Ron happily explained the origin of this competition. The Barnabas Finkley Xilin spellcasting competition. You know, competitions named after wizards are usually either because the wizards themselves are very good at this or because their families are very powerful. What is this competition? Seamus asked curiously. I don't know much about Barnabas Finkley, but his family is actually very famous in the British wizarding world. After Ron's introduction, Moon knew that the Finkley family would hold such a spellcasting competition every 5 years. The competition was not very competitive, and the organizers would find some well-known magicians to evaluate the contestants' spellcasting process. One of the most attractive parts was that at the end of the competition, the organizers would set up sudden and unexpected situations to test the contestants' temporary coping ability with spells. Every year, many wizards buy tickets to watch this emergency competition. Because the content is very strange, the Daily Prophet often says this is the most unlikely accident in the magic world. Hearing Ron say this, Moon suddenly felt that he was a little careless. Even the wizards themselves thought that it was an impossible accident, which made Moon unable to imagine what kind of strange accident it would be. Most of the contestants are students from magic schools who are about to graduate. The Finkley family often extends an olive branch to the winners of the competition. Does this family also do business? Moon asked curiously. Of course. I think they hold this competition to attract business for their family. The Finkley family's business is to open various training courses for wizards. There are fast spell training courses, family practical magic training courses, elementary transfiguration training courses, and potion refining advanced courses. Aren't these taught in school? Hearing Ron mention so many familiar magic learning courses, Moon became even more curious. He didn't understand why wizards would spend money to sign up for such training courses. Don't say that, Moon. Actually, there are not many wizards like you and Hermione who can learn all the courses well in school. Ron said the true situation of most students with a hint of envy. Well, actually I'm just a little curious. Can this kind of business really make money? Of course, you don't know that the employment environment in the Wizarding Society is not very good. Many people will pay them to learn a skill, and then hope to find a good job. Moon has not been in contact with the Wizarding Society for a long time, and he is not familiar with employment. but he vaguely feels that Ron's logic is a bit problematic. Ron, didn't you just say that the Finkley family held this competition to recruit some graduates as teachers for the training class? But how can students teach adults, using students who are about to graduate as teachers? This is actually not very reasonable in Moon's opinion. But Ron gave an abnormal but very reasonable reason. You don't know, in fact, for many wizards, the last year of school is often the best time of their magic power in their lives. After all, many people will no longer use the magic knowledge they learned in school after graduation. Although Moon didn't understand, he could vaguely feel that what Ron said was probably true. Well, it seems that this competition is specially set up for those students who are about to graduate. After listening to Ron's explanation, Moon knew that it might not be easy to get the 100 gold galleons. After all, the Finkley family held such a competition with their own considerations. Don't say that, Moon. In fact, I think you have a chance to win. As far as I know, Percy is not as good as you in the petrification spell. Ron's statement was affirmed by Harry, Seamus and Neville. They had all seen Moon continuously cast the petrification spell in the spell practice classroom, beating Snape to tears. Hermione also thought so. Although she envied Moon more for being selected by Professor Flitwick to participate in the competition, it did not prevent her from affirming Moon's strength. Are there any requirements for this competition? Hermione also asked Moon eagerly. Oh, Professor Flitwick said that there are no other restrictions except that the age cannot exceed 18 years old. Seeing that Hermione was very interested, Moon repeated the rules of the competition that Professor Flitwick told him. On the other side, Ron continued to tell the secret story of the Finkley family. In fact, as long as you pay attention to the news of the Ministry of Magic, you will know that before the current Minister Fudge came to power, the Finkley family actually supported Barty Crouch, but they bet on the wrong horse. Men seem to be born with a strong interest in political affairs, and young wizards are no exception. After Ron brought the topic to the Ministry of Magic, more and more young wizards participated in the discussion, and the rumors about the Ministry of Magic became more and more outrageous. Neville said that his uncle had always warned him to stay away from people in the Ministry of Magic because there might be werewolves hiding in it. Fred said that the Ministry of Magic has been carrying out secret activities and even controlling the election of Muggles. George said that the Department of Mysteries of the Ministry of Magic hides the biggest secrets of the magic world, and dark wizards often go there to steal. Moon guessed that most of what they said was not true. After all, the twins had just said not long ago that the ultimate secret of the magic world was the Little Curse. And this time it was the Department of Mysteries of the Ministry of Magic. Listening to the little wizards talking more and more outrageously, Moon gradually became interested in this mysterious department. Are there really many secrets hidden in the Department of Mysteries? Of course, including the people who work there. Everything they do is of the highest confidentiality level. Ron introduced that his father had 2 friends in the Department of Mysteries. When they came to visit the house, no one was asked to ask about their work content. Moon noticed that when everyone was talking about the Department of Mysteries, Harry became obviously nervous. Especially when Ron mentioned the Hall of Prophecy in the Department of Mysteries. Harry unconsciously touched the lightning scar on his forehead. Chapter 145, Sparring in the Black Lake. Hermione also noticed Harry's abnormal expression. She gently nudged Ron, who was talking very excitedly, with her elbow. Oh, Harry, don't worry, 70 to 80% of the glass balls in the Prophecy Hall have never come true. Ron did not lie. The Prophecy Hall had the most prophecy balls in the entire wizarding world. But most of them were extremely wrong. Yes, I think it's better to rely on yourself than to ask someone to do divination. Moon also expressed his opinion. He knew that the prophecy had brought a lot of pressure to Harry. Oh, I'm fine, it's just that this wound hurts a little. After hearing Harry's response, everyone consciously stopped discussing the story about the prophecy and turned the topic to other halls in the Department of Mysteries. Moon listened most carefully to Fred's talk about a brain hall. In the description of this red-haired senior, there was a huge glass tank filled with dark green liquid in the brain hall, and there were many white brains floating around in it. And these brains came from the smartest and most talented wizards in the past. The Ministry of Magic locked them up just to explore the secrets of these wizards in the past. No, I think they want to use these brains to think about the most complex magic. After all, these brains come from smart people like me. George and Fred were still arguing about the use of those soaked brains. Moon was thinking about himself at this time. He had already had 2 strange magical experiences. Moon suspected that these were all related to his brain, but he didn't know how to explore it now. Now that these little lines were talking about the soaked brains in the Department of Mysteries, Moon had to make some associations. Isn't what they said a little scary? Neville sat closer to Moon unconsciously when he heard the red-haired Wheel-Eyes arguing. Horrible? How is it possible? Aren't wizards supposed to study these? The twins saw that some little lions were afraid, so they wanted to tease Neville again. But when they were about to say something more terrifying, Percy came out to stop them. It's late, you should go to bed. Oh, dear prefect has spoken. Yes, I hope there are no scary vampires tonight. Woo. Disturbing the prefect's sweet dreams, Percy frowned as he watched his two younger brothers go up the stairs mischievously, and then kept urging the first-year wizards. Okay, there won't be any scary vampires in Hogwarts, you guys should go back quickly. Percy usually showed a very obvious sense of superiority, but he was very dedicated to the prefect's affairs. Moon knew that Percy was very good at studying and was also a frequent visitor to the library. So he deliberately walked at the end of the team and consulted the prefect about the brain. About the magic of the brain, it should be the same as the brain hall, which belongs to the category with the highest confidentiality level. Anyway, there are very few related magics in the school library, even in the forbidden book area. Hearing Percy's words, Moon suddenly became a little worried. He originally wanted to go to the library to find some relevant information, but now it seems that it should be difficult. The discussion on horror topics continued in the little wizard's dormitory until late. It was not until Neville asked not to continue that Ron ended with a trembling voice of fear. There was a defense against the dark arts class on Wednesday morning. When he saw Professor Quirrell, Moon felt a little dazed. Last night, Ron and Seamus discussed for a long time what the vampire that was tracking Quirrell looked like. Moon didn't know if the professor had eavesdropped on the conversation of the little wizards last night. Anyway, Quirrell's face was very bad today. But this was not the point. Moon found that Quirrell paid less attention to him. Especially after class, he was no longer kept alone, which made Moon feel a lot more relaxed. After the herbology class in the afternoon, Moon and Cedric came to the spell practice classroom as agreed. This third-year little wizard came to the spell practice classroom for the first time. But this time Filch rarely got angry. Moon guessed that the castle administrator thought that Hufflepuff students would not make trouble, so he didn't say anything. But when Bengbeng saw Cedric, he showed a very friendly kindness. For the first time, the Niffler took the initiative to climb onto a stranger's shoulder. After carefully observing Cedric, Bumblebee turned his head and looked at Moon. Chirp, he's as pretty as you. Really? This was the first time Moon knew that Bumblebee also had a favorite wizard look. Chirp, but you're still prettier. Bumblebee said this and jumped directly from Cedric's shoulder to Moon's palm. After hearing the compliment, Moon generously gave Bumblebee a smooth fur effect. Your pet is already very famous, and all the students who train Quidditch know it. Cedric saw Bumblebee and his eyes showed a new look. Really? I didn't know that. Moon rarely went to the Quidditch field, so he didn't know what happened there. This matter came from the Gryffindor team. Wood said that he was considering making Bumblebee the team's pet. After all, it is a 6-time champion. After hearing Cedric's explanation, Moon understood instantly. Gryffindor has not won the championship for 4 consecutive years, which has put Wood under great pressure recently. When Moon got up early to study recently, he often saw the captain of the team designing new game arrangements in the common room. Now that he heard that the other party intended to let Bengbeng be the team pet, Moon knew that the captain might really want to win once. Moon asked Cedric to come, of course, to practice the Iron Armor spell. This spell will produce a defensive barrier to resist various magical attacks and injuries. So the best way to practice is naturally to have both attack and defense. Among Moon's current good friends, Cedric is the only one who can cast the Iron Armor spell and continuously carry out magical attacks. After the two of them checked each other's Iron Armor spell in the classroom and found that they could cast it successfully, they started a very unspectacular wizard duel. Because neither of them was sure how much magic attack their Iron Armor spell could defend against. So they started to test each other with a leg lock spell with the least power. After finding that the Iron Armor spell was fine, they slowly upgraded to the petrification spell. Of course, the duel has been slowly escalating. This was also the first time that the two young wizards felt the charm of magic duels. Naturally, they would not honestly attack and defend in order. After the two of them detected each other's spell strength, all kinds of strange moves were used. You cheated. I just removed the defense. The enemy will not wait for you in the battle. After 3 or 5 rounds, Moon thought that the opponent he chose now was very suitable. Although Cedric was 2 grades higher than Moon, the strength of their spells was not much different. In particular, Cedric's spell attack strength was slightly higher than Moon's. This put some pressure on Moon, but it also subtly inspired his determination to fight. As for Cedric, he could almost block every spell of Moon, but Moon would not cast only one spell each time. This made it very difficult for Cedric to block all of them. An hour later, Moon and Cedric collapsed on the floor of the classroom. Huh? I never thought that I would be hit by your petrification spell 5 times. Cedric was a little scared when he recalled Moon's attack method just now. He had clearly cast the iron armor spell, but the speed was not as fast as Moon's. This forced him to find a way to dodge by moving his body. But Moon's spell casting speed was much faster than Cedric's dodge. This caused Cedric to be hit by the spell before his defense was established. Your burning flame and flying spell are also very powerful, and my protective magic can't stop them. Moon also saw these 2 new spells for the first time today. Because he was not familiar with them, his defense just now was very embarrassing. Haha, right, I only learned these 2 spells this year. In the duel just now, Cedric found that it was difficult to break through and defend against Moon from the front. He used the more powerful attack spells that only 3rd-year students can learn. By the way, can you teach me these 2 spells? In the battle just now, Moon had already felt the power of these 2 spells. Burning Flames can not only destroy Moon's armor spell with 1 strike, but also disturb Moon's vision after the flames are generated, making him completely unaware of Cedric's presence. The flying spell can summon all kinds of strange things to fly into Cedric's hands. This often makes Moon, who is standing in the middle, unable to defend in time. Of course, these 2 spells are probably difficult for other first-year students to learn, but it is not a problem for you at all. In the last hour of the spell practice classroom, Moon officially learned the spells of the 2 third-year wizards. Moon noticed that when Cedric was teaching him spells, Filch actually took the initiative to clean the classroom. Then his figure gradually approached the 2, and his eyes kept watching the 2 little wizards waving their wands in their hands. The next period of time will be the House Cup. I may not be able to come every day. I hope you can understand. When leaving the spell practice classroom, Cedric looked at Moon very apologetically. Okay, Moon knew that Cedric was the seeker of the Hufflepuff team, and this position was not available to ordinary people. After seeing Cedric leave, Filch came over awkwardly. Scarlett, sir, please, can you help me write down the method of casting your spells? Seeing the unnatural look in Filch's eyes, Moon responded without any hesitation. Okay, it's not that troublesome. Moon took out the usual spell practice record from his pocket and cast a copy spell. Oh, thank you very much. Filch took the copy record with both hands and kept smiling and thanking. After returning to the dormitory from the spell practice classroom, Boom pestered Moon to take out the flame snail meat that it had eaten last time. Chiji, not enough. Take it all. What do you want so much for? You can't finish it at once. Chiji, find someone to practice spells. Find someone to practice spells? With me, Chiji. Yes. Hearing Boom's affirmative answer, Moon couldn't help but feel a little confused. But seeing the little guy's anxious look, Moon didn't think much about it. He took out the last remaining large conch and followed him out of the lounge. Bengbeng had been pointing the way on Moon's shoulder until they walked out of the castle gate and headed towards the Black Lake. Moon's expression suddenly became solemn. He knew that Bengbeng had many friends in the Black Lake. And it seemed that only that big guy liked to eat conch and needed such a large portion. After approaching the Black Lake, Bengbeng quickly jumped off Moon's shoulder, ran to the water's edge and used his little claws to constantly stir up some water splashes. There were also constant chirping sounds from his long mouth. As Bengbeng's 3 calls rang out, Moon could see a huge shadow approaching quickly under the Black Lake in the distance. It's really it, Moon just sighed, and a round dark gray head appeared on the water. As the black shadow continued to float up, the head became larger and larger, and slowly revealed 2 huge eyes. Then there was a huge body and 8 huge arms covered with suction cups. Moon looked up at the giant squid's body that was constantly swinging, and he swallowed his saliva unconsciously. This big guy can definitely entangle the entire castle. After comparing it with a castle not far away, Moon truly felt his own insignificance. The giant squid became obviously very happy when it saw Bengbeng. Its arms swung faster and more regularly, and the color of its body was also changing towards pink. After living in the sea of another world for a while, Moon already knew that this octopus creature conveyed information through the change of color on its body. But it was still a bit surprising to see such a big animal constantly changing color in front of him. After seeing the giant squid appear, Bengbeng took the big conch from Moon and put it by the water. Eat it quickly. The size of the flame snail was not small to begin with, and Moon needed 2 hands to hold it. But after the giant squid grabbed this conch with its suction cup, it was like a small bulge on its body, not conspicuous at all. When the giant squid was about to put the conch into its mouth, Moon hurriedly reminded it. Its very hard crunch. The flame snail that could withstand Moon's 3 softening spells was like a very crispy cookie in the giant squid's mouth. Bengbeng, do you think it can really help me practice spells? Moon now doubted whether Bengbeng had found the wrong person. This giant squid was obviously a magical creature that was more difficult to deal with than a fire dragon. Let it accompany him to practice the armor charm that he was not yet comfortable with. What's the difference between this and asking Moon to challenge Dumbledore? Of course, Bengbeng did not understand Moon's concerns. After the giant squid swallowed the flame's nail, it told the other party the purpose of its trip. The giant squid also conveyed information to Bengbeng through the complex color changes on its body. This was beyond Moon's understanding, and he could only watch blankly from the side. A huge and a tiny animal were talking and changing quickly. Chiji, it said it knew you, Chi. It said it had looked for you several times, Chi, it agreed. Chapter 146 Dumbledore's Trust. When they were on the Scarlet Moon, Mimir had introduced this strange creature with 8 legs in the sea to Moon. He said that this creature was actually very smart. Moon remembered that he had only met a Black Lake once, when he had just successfully made a magic wand and came to the Black Lake to test the opening magic of the wand. Unexpectedly, just that one experience made this big guy remember it for so long. It was not until Bengbeng passed on that the giant squid did not want to cause trouble, but really liked that kind of magic, that Moon was a little relieved. What should I do? After the giant squid agreed, Moon looked at the 2 animals in front of him in a daze. It was the first time that Moon faced such a big sparring partner, and he really didn't know what to do. After Bengbeng helped to ask, the giant squid asked Moon to cast the iron armor spell first. Moon didn't know if the giant squid could see the range of the spell he cast. In order to prevent accidental injury during sparring, he walked to the shore again. When the squid saw that Moon had finished casting the spell, it hesitated for a moment, then immediately stretched out a huge arm and gently poked the surface of the Black Lake. Splash! A water arrow as thick as an adult's arm attacked Moon directly. Squeak! Iron armor spell seemed to have no defensive ability. Moon was also soaked. Seeing Bengbeng grinning beside him, Moon had no choice but to cast a drying spell on himself. Can you reduce the power of the water arrow a little more? Moon didn't know if the other party could understand him, so he just looked up and shouted. When the giant squid was about to attack again, Moon cast a waterproof and moisture-proof on himself in advance, and then used the iron armor spell to defend. Squeak! After finding that Moon could defend himself, the giant squid's other arms began to poke water arrows one after another. Its speed was faster than that of Moon casting the leg-locking spell. After just one round, Moon's defense was broken again. Fortunately, his clothes didn't get wet this time. After practicing for more than a dozen times, Moon was already exhausted, but the giant squid hadn't had enough fun yet, waiting for the next time with joy. Just as Moon was sitting on the shore to rest, a rough voice suddenly came from a distance. Who's there? I've warned you, don't get close to the Black Lake, it's dangerous to be dragged down. When Hagrid's voice sounded, the giant squid quickly sank into the Black Lake and disappeared. Hagrid, it's me. Moon didn't let the people in the distance keep shouting. Seeing the giant squid completely disappear, Moon knew that the big guy probably didn't want to see other people, so he turned around and greeted it himself. Oh, Moon, I just saw the giant squid come ashore. Hagrid was surprised when he saw Moon, and then kept pointing in the direction of the Black Lake and wanted to go over. Yes, that big guy was just practicing spells with me. What? Hagrid opened his mouth in surprise. It's helping me practice spells. What's wrong? No problem. I just didn't expect it to come out to help the little wizard. Yes, I didn't expect it either. Moon was actually no less surprised than Hagrid. But he could also vaguely feel that the giant squid didn't seem to have any bad intentions. Seeing that Hagrid no longer planned to go to the Black Lake, Moon also asked his doubts. Hagrid, I feel that the giant squid is very friendly. It shouldn't drag the little wizard into the water, right? It's usually very friendly and doesn't like to move. I don't know why it likes to come to the surface of the water recently. When Hagrid said this, he lowered his head and stared at Moon and Bengbeng, as if to say that it was you. After noticing Hagrid's eyes, Moon smiled embarrassedly. I will be more careful in the future. By the way, do you know when it came to the Black Lake? Hearing that Moon would come again in the future, Hagrid frowned. Although he himself was also from Gryffindor College, the recklessness of the little lion sometimes made him helpless. I don't know the exact time it came, but the professors once talked about it, saying that this giant squid was caught by the then Dean Godric shortly after the school was founded, the Dean of the Lion House when Hogwarts was founded, Godric Gryffindor. Moon had read the introduction of this celebrity in Hogwarts, A History of the School. If the giant squid really came to the Black Lake at that time, it would be at least 900 years old. This giant squid is so old. After Moon finished speaking, he looked at the huge black shadow in the Black Lake. He suddenly wondered if this big guy would be bored staying here. It should be. I think it should be the largest squid in the world, then can it usually eat enough? After Moon stared at the lake for a while, he suddenly remembered that the squid was very happy when eating conch, and asked with some doubt. It shouldn't be hungry. There are also fishmen in the Black Lake. They like to herd fish schools. These should have gone into the stomach of the giant squid. Fishmen are also a kind of magical creature with a gentle temperament. Last time, Bengbeng said that he made a group of strange-looking friends in the Black Lake, and Moon had suspected that it was them. Grazing fish schools. This shouldn't be enough. Thinking about the reminder of the giant squid, Moon felt that he should bring more flame snails next time. Even if he couldn't make the other party full, it would be good to change his taste. I don't know too much. I'm only responsible for guarding the Forbidden Forest. I pay little attention to the things in the Black Lake. Hearing Hagrid say this, Moon actually felt fortunate that it was so. Hagrid is now the guard of the Forbidden Forest, and he has stuffed countless things into it. If he is allowed to see the Black Lake again, then this safe area where first-year students can only go to school by boat will definitely become a dangerous magical forbidden area. By the way, since you are here, go and see the magical oak I found. Did you find it so quickly? Moon and Hagrid just agreed to repair the one last week, but he didn't expect that Hagrid would find the magical wood in less than a week. Yes, I originally wanted to buy one from Ollivander, but he said there was one that was particularly suitable for me. Moon knew that Ollivander had very high skills and vision in making wands. If this master said it was very suitable for Hagrid, then it must be good. When Moon and Hagrid went to the Forbidden Forest hut together, a warm smile appeared on the headmaster's tower of the castle. Dumbledore actually saw this little wizard when Moon arrived at the Black Lake. He not only witnessed the communication between Bengbeng and the giant squid, but also watched the whole process of Moon and the giant squid sparring. It is suggested to enhance the protection ability of the Devil's Snare. You need to practice these common spells. You can also gain the trust of the Guardian of the Black Lake. It seems that the suspicion of Mr. Scarlett can be completely ruled out. Moon, who had already left the Black Lake, didn't know. It was 3 months after he entered Hogwarts that he really gained the trust of the headmaster. When Moon arrived at Hagrid's hut, it was already late. Hagrid first hung a dim oil lamp on the pillar in the house, and then took out a paper package from the box. Seeing the material of this package, Moon felt a little familiar. Because it was exactly the same package he got when he bought a wand from Ollivander's wand shop. Because I'm busy recently, I wrote to Ollivander, and I didn't expect him to ask Professor Ollivander to send this. Hagrid had already opened the package while speaking, and took out a piece of wood about 20 inches long from it. This oak looks so familiar. Moon felt as if he had seen it somewhere when he saw the wood for the first time. Of course, Ollivander explained that since he learned that my wand was broken, he sealed this oak, and then you saw it. When Hagrid spoke, there was a big smile on his face. Moon learned more information from this sentence. There must be something behind Hagrid's broken wand. After Ollivander knew about it, he sealed the wood from the same tree as Hagrid's wand. If the magical wood comes from the same tree, it will be the closest to the original if it is used to repair the wand, Moon said as he carefully looked at the wood in his hand. Although this wood has been cut from the tree for a long time, it has been well maintained, and you can even smell the fragrance of the old wood on it. Ollivander's craftsmanship is really good. Moon took a look and felt that the value of this wood should be very high. Of course, his wands are very popular all over the world, and the maintenance of the wood must be first class. Moon knew that Ollivander's one shop had a great influence, and it was normal to be able to sell wands all over the world. Of course, Moon felt that he might be able to open a store selling other items in the future. After all, he has the whole world behind him. Since the wood is already available, I will make it after watching the game on Saturday. Oh, don't worry, I also want to watch Harry's game, and the time of the Quidditch game is completely unpredictable. Hagrid took the wood handed back by Moon, repackaged it and put it back in the box. As for the end time of the Quidditch game, this is indeed completely unpredictable. There is no time limit for this kind of game. The game is considered over only after the seeker catches the golden snitch. According to Hermione, who has read the magical Quidditch no less than 8 times, the longest Quidditch game record is now 6 months. This is because both sides of the game could not find the golden snitch and chose to give up. Of course, the Hogwarts House Cup should not have such a long record. Because the main job of young wizards is to study after all, the longest record of the House Cup is only 3 days. For Hagrid, he can wait for this time. After all, it has been decades since the wand was broken, and these few days are not a big deal. By the way, Hagrid, do you know Professor Dylan Ollivander? After hearing Hagrid just say that this professor brought him a package, Moon wanted to ask about something about alchemy. This professor, he is very... how should I put it? He studies those strange alchemy every day and rarely meets people. He suddenly came to deliver a package that day and scared me. Through Hagrid's description, Moon speculated that Professor Ollivander should be an alchemy madman. No wonder I rarely see him in school. Alchemy course is the most difficult and the least enrolled class in Hogwarts. It stands to reason that the professor should not be very busy. But Moon has not seen this professor since he entered Hogwarts. Yes, Professor Ollivander often misses classes with students because of alchemy experiments. Anyway, Professor McGonagall is very troubled by this matter. By the way, why do you ask him about him? Oh, I want to learn some alchemy things, but I don't know how to start. No way, Moon, you are only a first-year student, I just want to learn about it. Seeing Hagrid's surprised expression, Moon knew that no first-year student would specifically learn this. But Moon will not give up just because no one is learning. He knew very little about the magic of another world, and now that he finally got an alchemy key, he naturally wanted to find a way to study it. By the way, Hagrid, I saw that Dumbledore won the gold medal in alchemy in the 7th grade, so I think he should have been exposed to alchemy very early. Dumbledore, he is the greatest wizard. After getting in touch with Hagrid for a while, Moon found that Hagrid had no reason to worship Dumbledore. Even if Moon felt that only studying alchemy for 2 years would not achieve such a great achievement. But Hagrid still believed that as long as it was Dumbledore, it would definitely be possible. After checking the wood for the wand, it was already very late. Hagrid knew that it might not be safe on the road, so he took Fang to send Moon back to the castle. I know you are still not giving up on alchemy, but I still want to remind you that if you go to Professor Ollivander, you must not say that you have successfully made a wand. Why? Does he mind this? Moon was a little surprised that the people of the Ollivander family would mind making wands. These should be the secrets of their family. I don't know much about them. Anyway, just remember my advice, regarding the study of alchemy. Moon has actually been exploring on his own. He came to Hogwarts this week with the obscure alchemy notebook. After Moon's study for a period of time, he has been able to understand part of the content. This key should be made by a group of people, but Fail Holmes is responsible for recording the whole process. From the content of the notebook, Moon has learned that this group of people are the Faithless, and they have been making keys for 10 years. The whole key is composed of 3 parts. The main material is a meteorite iron, which is very hard. The teeth are inlaid with a kind of magma amber, which contains very strong fire magic energy. The handle of the key is wrapped in a layer of golden snake skin, and Moon cannot find out the specific effect for the time being. To be able to use so many materials to make a small key, it seems that the magic cage that the Faithless wants to solve should be very powerful. Moon could only find some basic books on alchemy in the library of Hogwarts. In the book The Origin of Alchemy, the whole alchemical item is divided into 5 parts: material, structure, rune, magic circle, and magic effect. Moon's current understanding of the alchemical key is only the material and the weak magic energy attached to it. There is still not enough research information. There should be a lot of relevant information in the Forbidden Book area, but which professor should I find? Thanks to the book Friendies for the reward. Chapter 147 Spell Practice Method. On Thursday morning, Cryfinder first-year students only had one transfiguration class. The transfiguration content of this class was a little more difficult than before. You must remember this spell, texture transformation, stone twig, firmly. Professor McGonagall distributed a black pebble to each little wizard after class. You must imagine in your mind that the internal structure of the stone gradually becomes soft and loose, and the shape gradually changes into the oval shape of an egg. Pay attention to learning to control the magic, otherwise it is very likely that the outside will look like an egg, but the inside is still stone. Of course, you can't use too much force, otherwise the eggshell will break and the whole transfiguration will fail. The content of today's transfiguration class, in the words of Professor McGonagall, is to let students understand the changes in the internal structure of objects. Of course, it is inevitable that various accidents will occur when letting little wizards learn this transfiguration. In addition to the situation where only the appearance is an egg and the eggshell is broken. Ron's semi-finished egg exudes a pungent odor. Seamus turned the egg into a baked egg. And Hermione's idea was too advanced, and a yellow feather appeared in the egg at the end. After the transfiguration class, Moon found Professor McGonagall and asked to borrow alchemy books. Mr. Scarlett, I have to remind you that it is too early to study alchemy at this stage. If you really want to be an alchemist, then it is more appropriate to study transfiguration seriously. Professor McGonagall's advice is very reasonable, and this is also a growth path that many alchemists have verified. Before studying alchemy, you must master a lot of basic knowledge of transfiguration. Although Moon said that he is learning transfiguration quickly and accurately now, he does not have enough knowledge of related knowledge. In Professor McGonagall's view, without a good foundation, it is impossible to go further on the road of magic. Professor, I will not take up any study time, and I just want to understand it. Hearing Moon say this, McGonagall thought helplessly. Moon's foundation was very poor at the beginning of the school, but now his learning progress has surpassed all the first-year wizards, and the course content has been far behind. This made McGonagall have to carefully examine Moon's request. After thinking about Moon's overall performance during this period of time, Mag picked up the quill and started writing on the parchment. I remember there are some research books on the basics of alchemy in the library. You might want to take a look. As for those dangerous ones, forget about it. Mag quickly wrote down the names of 3 books and handed the note to Moon. Alchemy, Mysteries in the Furnace, detailed explanation of ancient alchemy, the most obscure text, a preliminary study of alchemical runes. Seeing that Professor Mag agreed to the request so easily, Moon happily accepted the note. Professor, thank you very much. In fact, I have another thing I want to consult you about. Do you know anything about brain magic, Mr. Scarlett? I didn't allow you to borrow such a dangerous magic book. After hearing Moon's question, Mag obviously regretted giving Moon a book loan note just now. Professor, don't say it's because of curiosity, Mr. Scarlett, you are already too curious today. Seeing that Mag's expression became very serious, Moon could only explain helplessly. Professor, I just want to study my strange memory. You should know that, for Moon, the strange state he experienced twice was related to the brain, but he couldn't explain it to others. And Moon wanted to study it, so he could only find another similar statement. The memory ability far exceeds that of ordinary people, which is very suitable for Moon. After hearing Moon's words, McGonagall fell into deep thought. She heard more than one person say about Moon's excellent memory ability. Hermione once said that Moon never read a book a second time because it was a waste of time for him. Sprout once said that Moon only watched her do it once, and he could take good care of the 32 magical plants in the Herd Club. Professor Flitwick once said that even after a long time, Moon could perfectly replicate his spell-casting method. As for the potions professor, Moon has become the little stupid lion that Snape blames the least. There are too many statements about these, and McGonagall has long been accustomed to them, and she slowly doesn't think this is an outstanding ability. But today Moon said that he wanted to study this kind of memory ability, which made her feel a little incredible again. How can a person remember so many things? But even so, McGonagall still couldn't agree to Moon's study of brain magic, because this senior professor of transfiguration knew that the brain was one of the forbidden areas for wizards. There were many crazy magicians who wanted to study the brain, but in the end they all turned into ghosts and corpses. Mr. Scarlett, there are actually not many magic books related to the restricted area. After all, the brain is very fragile. There are almost no wizards who can successfully study and record it well. Moon heard a hint of horror stories from Professor McGonagall's words. But if you want to study memory, I suggest you learn to explore your own brain memory. Explore your own brain, Moon asked in some confusion. That's right, every wizard's brain is different. It's better to explore your own than to study others. Professor McGonagall's hint was very obscure, which posed a difficult problem for Moon. Explore your own brain, how to explore it? Moon thought about this question all day until the flying class was cancelled in the afternoon. Since last night, it has been raining and snowing where Hogwarts is located. Ms. Hodge also knew that such weather was not suitable for the young wizards to fly, so she changed this class to self-study very readily. After receiving the notice of the cancellation of the flying class, Moon did not happily return to the common room like other young wizards. Recently, Moon has learned a lot of new spells, most of which he is not very proficient in now. It is just right to take this time to study. After making a new pottery figurine on Tuesday, knowing that Moon was practicing spells, the twins exchanged 2 small evil spells with Moon, a disease curse, seal roar lock tongue. After getting a complete salamander pottery figurine, Seamus also took out the spell he accidentally found, thunder explosion, and Neville. Although this little wizard did not make a pottery figurine this time, he also contributed a spell after learning that Moon needed it, Thieves' Sense Charm. This is a spell taught to him by Neville's uncle. This elderly wizard did not think that Neville lost things because of his bad memory, but suspected that some magical creature stole them. Later, when teaching this spell, Neville's uncle finally realized that there was no thief. In addition to these, Moon also asked Hermione about loud voice and whisper, and another protective spell recommended by Professor Flitwick, obstacles. After a month in the spell practice room, Moon gradually found that the pottery figurine Snape was no longer so useful. When Moon first saw this magical pottery figurine, he didn't know many spells. Snape can also react painfully to these spells. But during this period of experimentation, Moon found that using Snape's expression to judge the power of the spell has become inaccurate. This pottery figurine seemed to have been defined as a toy for mischief and venting anger when it was created. Because it reacts very strongly to attack-type spells, but has almost no reaction to some practical and defensive spells. This forced Moon to find more ways to practice spells: burning flames, thunder explosion, a disease curse, Harry curse. These newly acquired attack-type spells can all be tried on the terracotta figurines. Snape can also give the most realistic reaction to the power of the spells. Especially the first 2 spells. Burning Flame is a 3rd-grade spell obtained from Cedric. After the spell is cast, a fierce flame will be ejected from the tip of the wand. The size of the flame has a lot to do with the wizard's magical strength and proficiency in this spell. The flame produced by Moon's practice of this spell today is not as fierce as Cedric's that day. However, after Snape was attacked by this spell, the expression on his face became very interesting. Although thunder explosion was obtained by Seamus accidentally, as far as Moon knows, this spell can only be learned in the 4th grade. Moon guessed that this spell should be related to Seamus's strange talent. After all, this little wizard is very fond of this kind of magic. When thunder explosion is cast, the wand swinging gesture must be decisive and powerful, and the spell must be recited firmly and quickly. Reducto. After Moon recited the spell, Snape was blown directly to the wall. Boom. Then the terracotta figurine fell heavily to the ground, giving Moon an even uglier expression. This spell is really powerful. But isn't Snape a little too sad? After Percy learned that a first-year wizard had mastered this spell, he warned them more than once to be careful about safety. This spell can not only be used to blast certain fixed objects. In fact, destroying obstacles and attacking enemies are its real functions. Moon has already felt the true power of this spell, but now he feels more and more that the hatred of the Predator towards Snape should be great. In addition to practicing these 2 attack spells and 2 small evil spells with a terracotta figurine, Moon found that it can also be used to practice the newly learned obstacles. This spell is another protective spell recommended by Professor Flitwick after he found that it was difficult for Moon to fully master the Iron Armor Charm. This spell does not form a strong defensive barrier like the Iron Armor Charm. However, it is relatively simple to cast, and can also slow down the target's movement in a certain direction. Professor Flitwick once cast 3 obstacles to block Moon's multiple petrification spells from different directions. Of course, Moon is not as good as Professor Flitwick yet. He can only cast 1 obstacles now, and the power is not very great. But this is enough for Moon's practice now. First cast obstacles between him and Snape, and then use Burning Flame and Thunder Explosion to test. With a blocking of the defensive spell, Snape felt that the power of the spell attack was much smaller, and the terracotta figurine also showed a mocking expression. After many practices, Moon also knew that defensive spells are actually more difficult than offensive spells. When casting obstacles, Moon found that he had to have a more delicate control of magic power in order to have a better defensive effect. And offensive spells only need to release simple magic power on the target, and the others don't need to be concerned. Practicing like this in the classroom, Moon could only feel such a slight difference. But in fact, in a real battle, Moon knew that the difference between these two spells should be even greater. For example, in a battle, the mentality of the wizards on both sides will definitely be different. The magician who takes the initiative to attack will have less psychological burden, while the magician responsible for defense needs to have strong willpower and emotional support. In particular, it is necessary to control the overall situation of the war. The magician responsible for defense must have a strong ability to predict and be able to flexibly adjust the defense strategy at any time. Destruction is always easier than protection. This is a sentence that the Xilin veterans often warn Moon. This sentence has also been confirmed in spells. After practicing attack and defense spells, Moon began to train the Thief Sense spell. Moon also had some thoughts about learning this spell. Since he was about to arrive at Nitsport, Moon found that the environment he would face next would be very changeable. And on the Scarlet Moon, Moon's secrets are increasing, which forced him to consider strengthening his protection. The practice of the Thieves' Sense charm is more convenient than other spells, and Moon does not have to stick to whether to practice in the classroom. Just cast this spell on a specific object and let Bengbeng try to take it away, so that the power of the spell can be tested. This spell is very hidden. It will work in secret and will not alarm unless it is triggered. After Moon learned this spell, he first added it to his suitcase. He found that Bengbeng seemed to like to rummage through it recently. Chiji, the box is chirping. That night, Bengbeng was startled by the sound of the suitcase. It's not chirping, but a thief wants to take something from it. Chiji, where's the thief? After hearing Moon's explanation, Bengbeng did not think it was him at all, but looked around for a long time. It was not until the alarm of the suitcase disappeared that he tiptoed closer again. But the box chirped again. This time, Bengbeng seems to know where the thief is. Moon practiced spells every day, and he did not stop his magic research. Especially the brain research that Professor McGonagall reminded him of. There is nothing else to learn from studying his own brain. This is not easy for Moon, but he also has first-hand research materials. That is Moon's own memory and personal experience of the two strange experiences. This is much more useful than some complicated and obscure reference books. What Moon needs to do now is to use his powerful memory ability to fully reproduce the two feelings, and then find the rules from them. On Friday morning, while the common room was very quiet, Moon started his first experiment. Before starting, Moon also learned from Professor Snape's record of analyzing potions and divided the research on his brain into 6 parts. Then find the corresponding information from the memory and fill it in the form. After preparing everything, Moon sat on the sofa in the quiet lounge and started his first memory recall. Chapter 148 Weird Potions Class. Moon didn't really pay much attention to his memory ability before. In his opinion, this innate ability is not worth showing off. But when he tried to conduct deep memory recall this time, Moon found that the brain is a good thing. For this memory recall experiment, Moon was very well prepared. He wrote down 6 aspects on the prepared form: recall and reflection, analysis and judgment, emotional experience, law exploration, abnormal state, and physical change. What Moon has to do now is to recall the state of the 2 strange changes in magic in his mind. Then record everything according to the description in the form. The 2 magic changes occurred in different situations. The first time was when the magic wand was successfully made, and the second time was when he learned to cast spells silently. But Moon clearly remembered that when these 2 states occurred, his mind was in a highly concentrated state, and he observed everything around him very carefully. And in this state, Moon could also feel that the speed of time had changed. Correspondingly, his body also made the most correct and timely response at that time. Whether it is the high-precision skills required to make a magic wand, or the special mental state required for silent spells. These things that were originally impossible became reality at that time and place. No, it's too tiring to try magic like this, It was still very cold and sleeting outside the castle in the morning, and Moon was sweating profusely while sitting on the sofa. Just now, he just recalled that strange mental state, and then he found that his body could not support it for a long time. It was like he was using a toothpick to lift a fire dragon. But it's not without gain. Moon wiped the sweat from his face and quickly began to record what he had just discovered in the table. Known. This strange magical state can improve the wizard's concentration and allow the wizard to cast magic on specific targets. Known. This strange magical state allows the wizard to observe and remember the surrounding things in a very detailed manner. Known. This state consumes a lot of the wizard's mental and physical energy and cannot be maintained for a long time. Conjecture. This state may have changed the speed of time in the wizard's current environment, and the details need to be studied again. After writing down all the conclusions drawn this time, Moon found that the changes brought about by this strange state were really huge. At the same time, he could understand why there was a special brain hole in the Department of Mysteries. No wonder Professor McGonagall said that the brain is a forbidden area for wizards. If this ability is developed, it will definitely cause a big shock. Moon's memory recall experiment this time was just a prototype, but he felt that his understanding of his brain had completely reached a new level. Maybe in the near future, I can create my own brain magic. Although he was very tired, Moon was in a good mood. This good mood lasted until breakfast was over, and Cedric came to find Moon. Sorry, Professor Snape found me making potions in the basement and took away some batfish swim bladder powder. After obtaining the potion material supported by Moon, Cedric couldn't wait to try the first potion improvement. But unfortunately, the smell of his potion was still captured by Snape. To be more precise, Snape smelled a brand new potion material. Then he found Cedric in a hidden corner. I was careless. I actually forgot that Professor Snape has been researching new potion materials recently. Snape has not returned the half bottle of potion that Moon brought. And he has been studying what the remaining 3 materials are recently. At this time, Cedric has a new potion material in his hand, which will definitely arouse the professor's great interest. I didn't reveal your name, but I think Snape should have guessed something. Cedric showed an embarrassed look. It doesn't matter. There are still many such fish in the sea. I think as long as Professor Snape looks for them, he should be able to find a lot. Moon already knew that the wizards in this world have done little research on biological materials in the sea, and this can provide Moon with good protection. Fish? What kind of fish? Is it delicious? Ron, who was sitting next to Moon, looked over subconsciously after hearing the name of the food. Well, it tastes good. The sailors in our hometown said that eating this kind of fish is good for the eyes. Moon was in a trance for a while before responding to Ron. Can you bring me some? If you can, I'd like to try it, too. Ron hadn't finished speaking when Harry showed great interest. Okay, but I have to remind you, Harry, this fish won't cure myopia. Hermione, who was sitting opposite, didn't care about the taste of the fish. She actually wanted to know what potion Moon and Cedric were brewing. Seeing that the two had been talking for so long without saying the name of the potion, Hermione felt as uncomfortable as a cat scratching her. What kind of potion are you brewing? So mysterious. After Cedric left, Hermione asked Moon quietly. Oh, it's a magical sedative potion. Cedric has grown a lot of small mushrooms that can make people sleep. He needs to make reasonable use of the spore powder, little mushrooms. While Hermione was confused, the Gryffindor little lions welcomed Snape's potion class again. Today's Professor Snape can be said to be the kindest the little lions have been since school started. He wanted to blurt out a few times to ridicule the stupid little lions, but he replaced it with a strong humph. Every time he uttered this powerful interjection, he would look fiercely in the direction of Moon. The little lions didn't know what was going on. Especially Harry, he was even more curious. Today, after Snape asked him a question, although he also answered it stumblingly, the other party only punished him to go back and copy the textbook 3 times, without making any long-winded sarcasm. Ron, did Snape take the wrong medicine? I don't know. Anyway, it's weird. Moon noticed that when Harry and Ron were talking in a low voice, the muscles on Snape's face trembled several times. Pay attention to classroom discipline. You bunch of little, After Snape finished speaking, he glared at Moon fiercely, and then began to explain today's potion refining. Turn to page 45 of the book. Today we will learn about antidote potions. The potion class ended quickly. Originally, after 3 months of practice by the little wizards, there should be no problems with the refining of such a simple potion. But the little lions of Gryffindor, because they focused all their attention on Snape, caused all kinds of strange mistakes in their entire potion-making process. The alcohol lamp was knocked over, the crucible burned dry, the potion had a strange smell, and colorful bubbles appeared in Harry's potion. Moon had to be distracted several times when making potions today. Not only did Harry not understand why Snape became like this, but Neville was the same. The professor that this little wizard feared the most was Snape. And today, as Snape's cold snorts increased, Neville was even more afraid. Whenever Snape's voice sounded, he would shiver unconsciously, and Moon had to be distracted to watch the crucible. Fortunately, the potion class ended quickly, and Neville finally breathed a sigh of relief. When all the little wizards were about to leave, Snape's cold voice suddenly sounded behind everyone. It seems that this teaching method is not suitable for you. Mr. Scarlett, what do you think? Moon was very sure that Snape was not asking for his opinion. He turned around and smiled at Snape and explained. Professor, it's inevitable that there will be mistakes the first time. I think it will be better in the future, humph. But there is no second chance for many things, you know. Moon was detained by Snape again without any surprise. In the past, when the Gryffindor little lions left, they would show him sympathetic eyes. But today, no one wanted to provoke the very weird potions professor. Moon didn't know what happened to Snape that he didn't have a second chance. Anyway, after all the students left, he emphasized a lot to Moon very sternly. Professor, I know, I will cherish the first chance. After Moon finished speaking, he wanted to leave the potions classroom, but Snape stopped him again. Wait, why are you in such a hurry? I won't eat a little stupid lion alive, Professor. Didn't you just say that you won't call it that? That's for others. As for you, it's an exception. Moon was also very helpless about Snape's completely unfair teaching method. Well, Professor, is there anything else you want to ask me? Ahem. Seeing Moon looking over curiously, Snape pretended to clear his throat. I heard from Filch that you were practicing some spells that were completely beyond the syllabus. Professor, it shouldn't be beyond the syllabus. I can already master these spells very well. Moon thought that Filch would at most talk about practicing spells. And beyond the syllabus, it was probably Snape's own guess. I must warn you that learning spells beyond the syllabus could be dangerous. I know, Professor. Hearing Snape's stern voice, Moon could only nod his head in response. However, just after Moon responded, Snape said something that seemed completely unrelated. By the way, do you still need spells? Ahem, I can also exchange with you. Snape's voice became smaller and smaller, and Moon had to take the initiative to get closer to hear him in the end. Snape subconsciously dodged. Professor, do you want to exchange too? Moon started exchanging spells with others this week. On Tuesday night, after helping others light the clay figurine hand warmer, he got several spells. Unexpectedly, Professor Snape also wanted to exchange. Professor, I don't mind too many spells, but what do you want? Moon had some guesses, but he didn't say it directly. Yesterday, Cedric was secretly making potions, and I found that he used the new potion material. This should be provided by you. Yes, Professor, it is a kind of sea fish maw. There should be a lot of it in the sea. I won't go fishing. Tell me, how do you want to exchange? Hearing Snape ask so directly, Moon was very happy. Professor, do you think 1 ounce of this material can be exchanged for one of your spells? Hearing Moon say the exchange method so easily, Snape couldn't help but be a little suspicious. He pondered for a while before slowly speaking. 5 ounces for 1, okay, deal, Moon agreed without any hesitation. Snape couldn't help but take a breath of cold air after hearing Moon's speed. This little stupid lion who is too smart is really not likable at all. Bring it here. Moon was originally appreciating Snape's unique compliments, and when he saw the other party suddenly stretched out his big hand, he was also stunned. Oh, Professor, the materials may not be available until next week. Next week? You can't leave the school. Is it sent by an owl? Professor, you guessed right. Anyway, this material was sent from a very far place. Hearing Moon's ambiguous answer, Snape narrowed his eyes and stared coldly. So that's the case. Then let's start our deal next week. After leaving the potion classroom, Moon chased his classmates to the auditorium for dinner. But Snape went straight to the principal's tower. After going up the spiral staircase, Snape unexpectedly saw a tall rectangular magic mirror. Out of curiosity, Snape took a closer look. Then a familiar girl's figure appeared in the magic mirror, and Snape stood there in a daze. When Snape was about to reach out and touch the figure in the mirror, Dumbledore came out from another room. Oh, Severus, what do you see? Noticing Dumbledore's curious expression, Snape took a deep breath and returned to a serious look. Nothing. Headmaster, really? It's a pity. This mirror can show the inner desire of every wizard. Severus, you don't have it, Headmaster. It's not a good habit to pry into other people's secrets. Also, why is this mirror here? Snape is the only professor in the Hogwarts faculty who is not used to using honorifics to Dumbledore. Even in public, he directly calls Dumbledore by his position. Didn't you suggest that I strengthen the protection? This is the protection level I found, this mirror. Hearing Dumbledore say this, Snape looked at the mirror of ease and confusion. He knew that Dumbledore's magic power was already very strong, but he still had to use the magic mirror to arrange the level, which made people a little confused. Especially this magic mirror which doesn't have much magical power. How could it possibly stop that person? Yes, this mirror can actually allow more people to see their own desires. I think it must be a very suitable level. Snape accurately grasped the key point in Dumbledore's words. More people. Who are these people? It shouldn't be just to deal with the person who returned. Principal, I won't interfere with what level you use, but I am a little suspicious now. Huh? Severus, you are not talking about Mr. Scarlett, are you? Hearing Dumbledore also say Moon's name, Snape looked at him puzzledly. Principal, do you know something? Chapter 149 Snape's Suspicion. After noticing Snape's sharp eyes, Dumbledore explained with a smile. It should be a little more than you know, but it is just this little bit that can eliminate Mr. Scarlett's suspicion. Snape actually didn't understand why Dumbledore said that. He was able to take out a bottle of unknown potion, a brand new potion material, and gave ambiguous answers to questions. These very strange things about Moon were enough to make people suspicious. And at this stage, Hogwarts happened to hide the treasure that person urgently needed. That's why Snape had to find Dumbledore to ask the key. You mean this little fool? This student's origin is very mysterious, but he must not have been sent by that person. After hearing Dumbledore's explanation, Snape couldn't help but be a little suspicious, and he continued. Principal Dumbledore, I have to remind you that your judgment is related to whether all of us can succeed in the level. Don't worry, Severus, no one can deceive the pen of acceptance and the book of admission, even that person. Hearing Dumbledore talking about these two very mysterious alchemical items, Snape had no way to refute. Since the pen of acceptance and the book of admission began to recruit students for Hogwarts, these two items have never failed. And now that Moon's name is on it, his suspicion has actually been reduced a lot. So, Principal, you actually know the true origin of this student. Hearing Snape's question, Dumbledore smiled and did not answer, but asked Snape again. Severus, then why do you doubt Mr. Scarlett? As far as I know, this little lion has performed very well in school. Excellent. That's because you didn't take him to potions class, Snape said, and remembered the countless humphs in his potions class today. Oh? Did anything interesting happen in the potion class? Dumbledore was obviously more interested in what Snape was angry about, but he didn't get the answer to this question. It's not important, Headmaster. The most puzzling thing is this little lion. He not only took out a bottle of unknown potion, but also a brand new potion material. Do you know what this means? Dumbledore didn't say anything and continued to look at Snape. This will give birth to new potions, or even great potion inventions, causing a shock to the entire potion world. Snape's voice became louder and louder, and Dumbledore's expression became unnatural. You don't know that there are many rare and extinct materials in that bottle of unknown potion, which cannot be measured by money. There is also a kind of fish bladder powder. Although its value is not high, it is a brand new and undiscovered basic potion material. If its potion value can be developed, there will be many new potions in the magic world. Hearing Snape's series of words, Dumbledore couldn't help but rub his brows. He knew that Snape had a high level of attainment in potions and was very famous in the entire European potion world. Moon only took out 2 materials, and the potion professor he had tried so hard to recruit was so surprised. Dumbledore suddenly wondered if he had not considered it well enough to recruit Moon into Hogwarts. Okay, Severus, I know it may be difficult to accept some new things, but Mr. Scarlett's life experience is still a secret, and I can't say too much. Principal, I didn't come to you to hear the word secret. Snape was a little depressed. He just said so much just to let Dumbledore know that Moon's secret would play a big role in the development of the potion industry, and then let the other party reveal more or less. But Dumbledore was still the same. He had so many secrets to guard that he even used a pensieve, but he was unwilling to tell others. Haha, Severus, I know this is hard to understand, but I don't know much. If you really want that kind of potion material, just like you said, go for a fair exchange. Fair exchange? Snape was very disdainful of such a word. Past life experience told him that there is no fairness in this world. Just like this time, he told Dumbledore about Moon's potion materials, but all he got was the secrets that this little lion couldn't tell. This made him more dissatisfied with Dumbledore, and at the same time more curious about Moon's secrets. There are many secrets buried in Hogwarts, whether it is the castle or the people in the castle. These secrets can more or less cause troubles to people. And the best way to relieve troubles is of course a group of people's carnival. On Saturday morning, the carnival officially began. Today is the first game of the annual Hogwarts College Cup. Gryffindor vs Slytherin. The cold weather can't stop everyone's enthusiasm. All the little lions are very excited today, and Moon is naturally affected by this emotion. Because it was Harry's first time to play in the game, even though he had been training for more than a month, he was still so excited that he didn't even eat breakfast. After Moon got up early today, he found that a large number of people had gathered in the lounge where he had been studying quietly in the morning. Each team member held a pottery hand warmer in his hand. I didn't expect this little thing to be so useful. Yes, at least my hands won't be so cold that I can't hold the broom anymore. In the team's locker room, Wood began his pre-match speech again. Boys and girls, we will definitely win this time. I borrowed the bouncing pottery figurine from Moon. Yes, it's a 6-time champion. Victory belongs to Gryffindor. The effect of the pottery figurine hand warmer was clearly contrasted after the team entered the field. Everyone in Gryffindor had a red face, and they looked completely fearless of the cold. The Slytherin students all tightened their necks unconsciously under the cold wind. Madam Hooch was the referee of the Quidditch match. After she blew the silver whistle, 15 flying brooms instantly took off. The game began. Is this your color-changing magic? In the stands beside the court, Moon noticed that Ron, Seamus and others were holding up a banner made of bed sheets, on which the colorful words "Harry will win" kept flashing. Yes, I succeeded yesterday, and I also found the most beautiful color combination of calico cats. After hearing Moon's question, Hermione showed off her latest version of the calico cat figurine. When Bengbeng saw the figurine, his eyes lit up slightly. "Gee, what did Bengbeng say?" Hermione asked. "It praised your cat for being beautiful." "Oh, thank you Bengbeng, but you are actually cuter." While Bengbeng was admiring the calico cat figurine, Lee Jordan's commentary on the game had already begun. As a commentator with obvious emotional colors, Lee Jordan's commentary is recognized by all the little lions in Gryffindor as the most effective sound weapon to fight back against Snape. This is simply a despicable and shameless cheating. Sly, Jordan, oh, Professor, I was just kidding. Chapter 150 Memory Recall Use. Halfway through the Quidditch match, Hagrid, with a large telescope hanging around his neck, came to the audience. "I can't see clearly from the hut, so let me borrow it. I have to say, your big flag is really conspicuous." The Quidditch field is located between the castle and Hagrid's hut, but because the players are flying too high, Hagrid can only see a small black dot from his own residence. Moon greeted Hagrid and continued to watch the fierce game on the field. Since the start of school, Ron has been suggesting that he become a chaser. Moon only really saw the responsibilities of a chaser today. It is indeed very similar to a slingshot, except that the target of the slingshot is the prey, while the target of the chaser is the opponent's goal. When Moon was still observing how Angelina was going to shoot the ball into the goal, Hagrid, sitting next to him, muttered something that only a few people around could hear. If I didn't know Harry very well, I would have thought he couldn't control his broom. No, there's something wrong with Harry's broom. Hermione, who had been next to him, was also paying attention to Harry. After hearing what Hagrid said, she immediately took the telescope and looked at the small black dot in the sky. Impossible, only dark magic can interfere with a flying broom. Moon also noticed Harry's situation, but he knew that Hagrid was right. When learning how to make a wand, Moon studied the flying brooms in the school. When making this magical instrument, not only was magic cast to maintain flight and stability, but a large amount of protective magic was also added to it. The high safety factor is also a selling point that some flying broom companies vigorously promote. Hermione quickly locked on a murderer in the crowd who was very likely to use dark magic. She left the stands with her wand, while Moon set his sights on the large bed sheet. Applying the levitation charm to the bed sheet should be able to slow down Harry's falling speed. Moon was not sure who cast the dark magic, but he knew that his idea should work. However, before Moon's idea was put into practice, Harry had already caught a golden snitch with his excellent flying skills. But he did not use his hands, but his mouth. I knew it was Snape who did it. After Hermione came back from afar, she told the heroic deeds she had just done. Burn Snape's robes. After the little witch finished speaking, Moon looked at the staff seat not far away. The robe that would normally be agile and flowing as long as Snape walked quickly had a large piece missing. Now Snape looked more like he was wearing two huge bat wings. He really deserves to be the Bat Professor. The Bat Professor was the nickname given by the Gryffindor little lions to Snape, who often liked to wear black clothes. Although they had not yet won the final game, today was the happiest day for all the Gryffindor little lions. In the eyes of most little lions, defeating Slytherin was more exciting than winning the final. After the game, Harry quickly ran to the stands, and everyone couldn't help but talk about the accident that had just happened. It must have been Snape who did it. I burned his robes, and then Harry's broom was fine. Yes, I found it too. Ron's perception of Hermione this time can be said to have changed greatly. He used to think that this little witch should be a typical Ravenclaw. But he didn't expect that she would burn a professor's robe today. Which was really like a little lion. I didn't dare to watch, so I don't know. Neville had covered his eyes in fear at that time, and he didn't know the whole process. Harry was still very excited at this time, but after hearing his friend's analysis, he also said what he had been suspecting for some time. Snape must want to steal the things under the three-headed big dog, and he was very strange in class yesterday. Hagrid didn't know why Snape became so strange, but he revealed the name of the big dog and Nick Flamel in the suspicion of the little lions. The little lions who returned to the dormitory were still discussing the problem just now. Moon was thinking all the way, or recalling. He tried to use the memory retracing magic of yesterday to try to restore everything that happened in the noisy environment at that time. When the little wizards argued for a long time without reaching a conclusion, they all looked at Moon, who had been very quiet. Moon, do you think it was Snape? He must be going to steal Nicholas Flamel's Philosopher's Stone, right? Because Moon was studying alchemy this week. Several young wizards also knew about Nicholas Flamel. Of course, the Philosopher's Stone was also guessed. I don't think it's likely. Moon rubbed his temples. He had just used up a lot of energy using the deep recall method. The chaos in the professor's seat caused by Hermione burning her robes was a bit big. At that time, several professors around were bumped by Snape. You mean it might not be Snape, but other professors? Hermione understood what Moon said, but she still had some doubts. That's right, but we can't rule out some senior students. Although Hagrid said that some students would not cast dark magic, Moon thought that the students of Hogwarts would not be so well behaved. But this range is too large. Ron never thought that from the precise suspicion of Snape just now, there would be so many suspects now. After Moon finished speaking, he did not continue to discuss with him, but took a quill and a piece of parchment and began to write. Severus Snape, Filius Flitwick, Charity Burbage, Sylvanus Kettleburn, Emma Pants, Quirinus Quirrell. After writing, Moon looked at the crowd again. When Hermione was observing Harry with a telescope, I noticed that these 6 professors were looking up at the sky. Of course, there were also some 7th-year seniors whose names I don't know. After Moon finished speaking, he pushed the parchment among the crowd. Are there so many professors who want to harm Harry? Impossible, Ron asked in disbelief. Wait, how did you do it? In such a noisy and chaotic environment at that time, how could you clearly remember the names of so many people, and also know which ones were looking up at the sky? Among the young wizards, Hermione can often accurately grasp the person with the problem. This is my latest experiment on memory magic. I didn't expect to use it today. Moon was actually a little surprised now. He just conducted an experiment on his brain, but he didn't expect to develop such a use. Moon's previous memory was only able to remember some things he had learned or experienced personally. But now this memory recall magic can actually help him recall what happened in the past, even if he did not participate in it personally, as long as he was nearby. Your ability is too. Hermione could not find any other words to describe it, because this was also a new thing for her. The other little wizards could not understand how powerful Moon's ability was, and they even did not understand it. However, they were very interested in the note Moon wrote. Are these professors all suspects? How should we check? After Ron took a look at the contents of the list, he threw the parchment back on the table with some worry. He really didn't like to think about these things. In fact, we can still do some elimination. Moon took the parchment again, and then picked up the feather pen to draw on it. After Hermione burned Snape's robes, Professor Flitwick reached out to help Snape, and Professor Bubbage hurriedly stepped aside. Professor Kettleburn's artificial egg tripped Snape, and he just bumped into Quirrell. As for Madame Pants, she seemed to avoid Snape with disgust for some reason after seeing him. After Moon sorted out the actions and expressions of several professors at that time, he put down the quill again. "You have completely restored the crime scene." Hermione was even more surprised. She originally thought that it was amazing that Moon could remember that several professors looked up at the sky. But now even the professor's artificial egg and Madame Pants's disdain for Snape, these trivial things were all reproduced. This made Hermione completely unable to sit still. "You should be a detective, really, Moon." After Moon sorted out all the things about the professors, Harry realized how powerful Moon's ability was. "That's right, Moon, you can definitely become a magic detective with this ability." Ron had never seen this kind of strange magic, but he had heard many stories about magic detectives. The detective protagonists in the stories were far from being as good as Moon. "Don't say that. The reason I was able to recover this incident was because I was at the scene, but if I were a magic detective, I don't think it would be so easy." Moon had never thought of becoming a magic detective to help people solve cases. He just wanted to learn more about magic. Of course, his current memory recall magic is still just a prototype. If it can continue to deduce and grow, it may really be better than those magic detectives. Unlike the little wizards who have been guessing just now, Moon's magic is completely based on real situations. However, although this result is true, it also makes it impossible for the little wizards to determine who the real murderer is. Moon has been thinking about it. After excluding Madame Pants, the original list of 6 people only has 5 professors. The only ones that Moon knows more about are Snape, Flitwick and Quirrell. The remaining 2 professors, one teaches protection of magical creatures and the other teaches Muggle studies. These are all elective courses for the 3rd grade. Moon didn't know if any of them would have a conflict with Harry, but he was sure that Snape would not be the murderer, because he knew very well where the young wizards came from when they said Snape was weird. After Moon agreed to give the potion to Snape, he suggested that Harry be less difficult. At that time, the potion professor's reaction was very strong, and Moon also got a lot of useful information from his words. Professor Snape should have a very good relationship with Harry's mother. The deliberate difficulties he made in class were just to allow Harry to inherit his mother's talent for potions. It's just that his methods were more intense. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.